The world has ended, leaving only a graveyard of heroes and cities. Amidst the ruin, one last defender makes his stand against the inevitable. He struggles to understand how a simple game became humanity's extinction event. Around him, his fallen comrades are a grim reminder that no one escapes. Though his body is broken and trembling, his spirit as a warrior remains. He stands before the architect of this despair, a being of pure death. But even in the face of annihilation, he finds the strength to fight back. With a final, defiant roar, he decides to go out in a blaze of glory. He stakes his very life on one last desperate charge against the darkness. But his final cry of refusal is swallowed by an overwhelming, crushing power. His final roar of defiance echoes not in the void, but in a quiet classroom. He's met not with death, but with the confused stares of his fellow students. An angry teacher immediately begins berating him for disrupting the college entrance exam. The shock hits him like a tidal wave. He was supposed to be dead. He realizes he's been sent back 10 years, to the very day the apocalypse began. Reaching into his pocket, he feels a familiar, impossible weight. It's the apocalypse ring, his key to the game, brought back with him from the future. The teacher keeps yelling, completely unaware he's scolding a war-torn veteran. The boy vanishes, replaced by the cold, calculating gaze of a survivor. He confronts the man, remembering the coward he would become when the world ended. He calmly walks out on the exam, leaving the furious teacher in his dust. His classmates whisper in admiration, completely oblivious to the real stakes. The game Apocalypse wasn't just popular, it was a cultural reset for the entire world. Virtual loot became real-world treasure, turning gamers into tycoons. Its influence was so great that even nations conducted transactions through the game. While some celebrated newfound riches, others were left destitute in its wake. But our hero knows the terrible truth lurking beneath the surface of this craze. He remembers the day the game bled into reality and the world was plunged into chaos. Humanity's armies rose to meet the threat, a desperate stand against the impossible. But their conventional weapons were like spitballs against the game's final bosses. The day the sky went dark was the day humanity's last hope was extinguished. But for him, this second chance is a burden he's more than willing to bear. He looks at the world he lost and vows to protect its fragile peace. Returning to a home he thought was long gone, he finds the place empty. A note from his parents reveals they're on an exploration trip. Great timing, guys. He remembers their fate and makes a solemn promise to save them this time. It's 11 a.m., 1 hour before the world officially logs into its own destruction. With the apocalypse ring, he has a 1-hour head start to rewrite history. He twists the ring, his entire plan hinging on this single desperate action. A brilliant flash of light confirms it. The game is about to begin just for him. His consciousness separates from his body, a digital ghost rising in triumph. He declares his name is Mu Shen, ready to carve out a new destiny. With a renewed sense of purpose, he dives headfirst into the digital abyss. A system message greets him, welcoming him to the Azure Dragon server. The new player guide appears, delivering a grand speech about saving the world. He's presented with the classic choice, pick your starting profession. Learning from his past, he confidently chooses the Warlock class this time. But the game hits him with an error because, of course, his master plan has a bug. The guide, with a hint of pity, suggests he take a look at his attribute panel. His character sheet reveals the horrifying truth. His class is locked, but his level is reset. He furiously complains to the guide about being stuck as a resource-draining mage. With his class decided for him, he demands to see his starting equipment. But his inventory is completely empty, a crushing blow to his grand plans. Well, not completely empty. A single ominous item sits in one slot. He pulls up the details, discovering a strange skeletal arm. It's called the Grim Reaper's Handbone, a cryptic relic from his past life. With no stats and an inactive ability, he dismisses it as another useless rebirth perk. But then, a world announcement declares Mu Shen the very first player to log in. He materializes in the starting zone, earning a novice gift pack and a unique title. A title he finds so ridiculous, he vows to never let it see the light of day. He inspects his new title, Fastest Man, and finds the stat boosts are actually quite good. With his title equipped, he greets the starter zone mobs like they're old friends. He winds up and unleashes his first spell, a classic level 1 fireball. The damage is laughably low, a harsh reality check for the former apocalypse survivor. The boars, unimpressed by his past life resume, decide to charge him instead. As he flees for his life, he notices he's not the only one in trouble. A woman in tattered clothes is desperately crying out for a hero, and her pursuer is no mere mob, but a massive, terrifying boar king. A quest window appears, offering a huge reward, and he instantly recognizes it as the first hidden quest. He grins, realizing that getting chased by Bacon was all part of his master plan. He plays the part of the hero, opening his arms to the damsel in distress. But instead of a rescue, he shoves her directly into the path of the beast. He uses her as the perfect bait, creating a standoff between man and monster. The woman, utterly bewildered, tries to explain her innocent mushroom-picking predicament. But her confusion turns to shock as Mushen reveals he knows far more than he should. He casually lists off her childhood secrets, a series of embarrassing personal truths. His taunts finally strike a nerve, and a dark energy begins to crackle across her skin. With a chilling smile, she warns him that he has seen far too much. The damsel in distress vanishes, replaced by a demonic entity known as Enchanted Xiaohua. Mushen simply smiles, his knowledge bought with the suffering of countless players from his past life. With her cover blown, Enchanted Xiaohua promises a swift death for the human. But Mushen calmly redirects the Boar King, telling it to take the lead. The demoness tries to dismiss the beast, but it's already locked on its new target. Lightning crackles around the Boar King as it prepares a thunderous assault. It crashes into Xiaohua with the force of a freight train. The demon is thrown back, a brutal silhouette against the powerful impact. But her rage is still fixed on Mushen, who she now considers her primary target. He points frantically, not in fear, but to warn her of an opening she's left. Then he winds up and casts his signature incredibly weak fireball spell. It lands for a whopping 36 damage, which probably felt more like a mosquito bite. Enraged by his trickery, Xiaohua lunges forward, promising a painful death. Mushen dodges away, landing another comically weak fireball in the process. He leads her on a chase through the woods, taunting her with his pathetic spells. But this is all part of the plan, a strategy he remembers from his past life. He knows her power is tied to this forest, and her weakness lies just beyond it. Reaching the edge of the trees, he turns and dares her to follow him. She roars with fury, but he just meets her threats with a condescending smile. Her claws reach for his throat, only to stop dead in their tracks. She's completely immobilized, trapped by an invisible barrier she can't comprehend. With his prey helpless, Mushen decides the warm-up is over and summons a real spell. He unleashes a torrent of fire from the sky, a spell far beyond a level 1 player. The demoness collapses, defeated, as a system message confirms Mushen's victory. The rewards flood in, completing the hidden quest and pushing him to level 2. With the quest complete, he moves in to claim the spoils of his hard-won victory. But as he checks his inventory, he notices something completely unexpected. The Grim Reaper's handbone has actually leveled up along with him. Its stats are still a mystery, with its primary attribute remaining inactive. This is a variable he never encountered in his past life, a relic with unknown power. The activation requirements are revealed, and they are, let's just say, a little steep. He decides to put that on the back burner and focus on grinding, dragging his new companion along. With the demon gone, Xiaohua thanks him for freeing her from the curse, offering her gratitude. But Mushen knew all along, baiting out her demonic form to get the hidden quest. He inspects his new staff, thrilled to find it's a rare purple-tier item from the quest. She asks him to escort her home, triggering the next step in the main quest line. He gives her a piggyback ride, clearly suffering for the sake of the mission. With the forest behind them, they make their way towards the distant Qingyu village. Their arrival in the bustling village immediately draws the envious stares of other players. She joyfully calls out for her grandfather, her journey finally at its end. The village chief emerges, relieved to see his granddaughter has returned safely. After a tearful reunion, Mushen receives his reward for completing the escort quest. The village chief begins a lengthy introduction, but Mushen has no time for pleasantries. He knows from experience this NPC will waste hours with small talk if given the chance. The chief explains that Xiaohua needs a cure, which requires the blood of demonized zombies. With the main quest accepted, he waves goodbye and sets off to hunt some undead. The chief advises him to stock up at the alchemy shop before heading out. He arrives at the alchemy shop, a familiar destination from his past life. Inside, he's greeted by the shop's rather memorable alchemist. He gets straight to business, ordering a hefty supply of mana potions. The alchemist gets a little too close for comfort, offering a personal discount. Our war-torn veteran politely declines her very generous, very unprofessional offer. He makes a swift exit, leaving the disappointed alchemist to lament his lack of taste. But his muttered complaints are overheard by the town's very large, very intimidating blacksmith. Mu Shen quickly smooths things over by purchasing an identification scroll for his new staff. He finds a quiet corner, knowing that identifying high-tier gear is a gamble in itself. With his future knowledge, he understands this system will soon become a whale's playground. He puts his faith in the blacksmith's decade of solitude, and his prayer is miraculously answered. The Heavenly Fire Staff is revealed, boasting a massive magic boost and two incredible effects. Armed with his new legendary weapon, he sets off to complete the zombie quest with a smile. He arrives at the zombie fields and immediately unleashes a devastating rain of fire. The staff's passive ability triggers constantly, making him wonder if he's just that lucky. Mu Shen reflects on his progress, knowing the server is about to open to the public. The clock strikes noon, and across the globe, millions of players log into the game. The village erupts into chaos as new players marvel, complain, and get killed by NPCs. He checks the world chat, filled with players wondering where all the zombies went. Awkward. Surrounded by his loot, he calmly waits for the mobs to respawn. Now at level 4, he calculates his impressive earnings and plans his next move. He sets up a stall ready to turn his hard-earned loot into capital. Other players mock him for selling gear instead of grinding for it themselves. Mu Shen just smirks, knowing these rookies wouldn't last a minute where he's been. Suddenly, his attention is drawn to a potential customer approaching his stall. A woman in a stylish white dress approaches, commenting on his high prices. Her arrival immediately captivates the other players, who are stunned by her beauty. But Mu Shen isn't just stunned, he recognizes her player ID instantly. He knows her as one of the future's top 10 mages, a commander in the war to come. Meeting such a legendary figure this early gives him a rather devious idea. Intrigued by his bold claims, the future commander inspects his wares. She's shocked to see a stall overflowing with loot just minutes after the server opened. She asks for the price of everything, and Mu Shen gives her a bulk markup? When she calls him out, he slyly offers her a special way to get a discount. His special offer involves a 20% discount in exchange for touching her legs. Real smooth. She reacts with outrage, calling him shameless for his absurd proposal. Mu Shen just shrugs, casually telling her the once-in-a-lifetime offer is off the table. She knows he's trying to swindle her, but the value of the gear is undeniable. Cutting through the nonsense, she makes a serious offer of $100,000 for the entire lot. But their transaction is interrupted by the arrival of a new, much larger player. Mu Shen recognizes him instantly. Crazy war god, a notorious bully from his past life. This same man had killed him repeatedly, setting back his progress in the original timeline. The woman, Ting Xuewan, confronts the newcomer, but he simply declares the highest bidder wins. He offers $150,000, but she immediately counters with a bid of $200,000. Mu Shen watches the bidding war, realizing these guilds are preparing for the first dungeon. Ting Xuewan knows this gear is the key to her guild's early dominance over all others. Mu Shen cheekily reminds her of his ridiculous offer, much to her flustered annoyance. He then waves off Crazy War God, telling him to get lost while he's conducting business. The enraged bully is held back by his men, daring Mu Shen to step outside the safe zone. His underling seethes, promising a world of pain once they get him in the wilderness. As the threats fade, Ting Xuewan seems to be seriously considering the absurd deal. A system notification confirms the transaction is complete, leaving her fuming in chibi form. Mu Shen watches her leave, smugly noting that she's still too inexperienced to outplay him. She walks away blushing, admitting that despite his lecherous act, there's more to him. The deal is shown. A simple 20% discount for $120,000, which she reluctantly accepted. Mu Shen leans in, playfully asking if she's ready to fulfill her end of the bargain. He feigns disappointment, questioning if she's really going to break her promise. A sly grin spreads across his face, knowing he has her right where he wants her. He suddenly relents, magnanimously offering to forget the deal as a personal favor. As he leaves, she reflects on his audacity, but also recognizes his potential as a future ally. He returns to the village chief, turning in the zombie blood and immediately getting another quest. With the new quest accepted, he levels up and dumps all his points into his magic attack. Our hero's ego seems to be leveling up even faster than his character sheet. The feeling of cheating is refreshing, as he sets off to widen the gap even further. But his triumphant march is cut short by a sudden, horrifying realization. He suddenly remembers a crucial detail he almost forgot, a hidden deal with the village chief. He recalls the hidden quest path involving Xiaohua's hairpin, a secret he learned the hard way. The chief bestows upon him a permanent blessing, a massive buff with incredible stats. While other players beg for the same treatment, Mushen scoffs and sets his sights on the first dungeon. He arrives at the Demon Swamp, a corrupted zone where potions are useless and health drains constantly. But his new blessing provides just enough regeneration to counteract the swamp's deadly effect. With his advantage secured, he ventures deeper into the ominous, fog-shrouded woods. Deeper inside, another party is already fleeing in terror from the swamp's monstrous inhabitants. The creatures quickly ensnare the woman, who cries out desperately for help. Her companion, a true model of chivalry, abandons her without a second thought. The cowardly player turns to Mu Shen, desperately trying to warn him away. But his warning is cut short as a monster impales him from behind. The culprit is an enchanted mummy, a high-attack monster perfect for wiping out newbies. Mu Shen calmly assesses the threat, recognizing it as a classic newbie killer. He identifies the mummy's slow speed as a key weakness he can exploit. He unleashes a volley of fireballs, confidently declaring they should fear him instead. The spell erupts in a massive explosion, a testament to his legendary staff's power. With the entire horde's attention, he begins to kite them deeper into the swamp. So much for a heroic stand. But it's all part of the plan, as he recalls a special location perfect for an ambush. He arrives at the Deadwood Forest, and the mindless mummies follow him right into his trap. He stands on the edge of a chasm, taunting the horde to follow him. His insults land perfectly, sending the mindless mummies into a rage. They extend their bandages, creating a web of bridges to cross the gap. Mushen leaps through the chaos, dodging their grasping attacks with ease. He confidently remarks that he's more than experienced enough for this. Just as they close in, he grabs a handful of their bandages. With a mighty heave, he pulls the entire horde off balance. The mummies are sent flying, tangled in their own wrappings. They crash into the swamp below, completely immobilized and ready for slaughter. He scoffs at the newbies who feared these mobs and prepares a final fiery spell. But a server-wide announcement interrupts him. A bounty to kill 100 players who harassed the alchemist. Mushen smirks, musing that this special bounty is a perfect fit for his particular brand of justice. He plans to finish off the mummies, hit level 5, and then go collect his reward on the server's creeps. With a wave of his staff, he calls down a rain of fire, engulfing the helpless mummies below. The spell obliterates the horde, and the system rewards him with EXP, gold, and a new skill book. He inspects the warrior skill book, noting its value while also seeing his bounty progress is now at 1. It seems an unlucky player was caught in the blast, a happy accident that Mushen is happy to accept. The world chat explodes with complaints from players struggling in the very same area. On a nearby cliff, his old rival, Crazy War God, mocks the weak players and prepares to lead his guild. With a battle cry, he leads his army of followers straight towards the mummy-infested swamp. Onlookers marvel at the guild's wealth, certain they'll become the server's top dogs. Crazy War God sneers, dismissing everyone else as paupers his guild will easily surpass. He spots a lone mummy in the distance and orders his followers to charge. But their charge is immediately halted by a powerful fireball erupting from nowhere. He's stunned, wondering what other powerful mage could possibly be lurking in the swamp. His men cry out in alarm, pointing to a new and terrifying threat from above. A rain of fire descends from the sky, sending the entire guild scattering in terror. The spell impacts with devastating force, and it seems someone forgot to check the weather forecast. The barrage is relentless, wiping out the would-be conquerors one by one. And just like that, system notifications confirm the kills, racking up Mushen's bounty count. Mushen watches the carnage, wondering why people are so eager to die. He inspects his new level 5 skill, Frost Blossom Dance, a powerful crowd control spell. With the mobs on respawn, he takes a moment to sort through his impressive haul of loot. He prepares to message Ting Sui Wan, ready to offer her first dibs on the new gear. He stretches, still a few dozen kills short on his bounty and hoping for more volunteers. Among the drops is a valuable skill book for mages, offering a much-needed speed boost. He immediately learns the skill, adding a vital escape tool to his growing arsenal. His eyes glow with ambition as he sets his next goal, the server's very first dungeon clear. But in the distance, another battle is already raging in the heart of the swamp. A new party of players is clearing out the remaining mummies with surprising efficiency. The party's healer, known as Fisheye, announces she's done with the quest and the team. Her male companions immediately protest, desperate to keep their healer around. Their creepy attempts to get a smile from her are met with silent disgust. She reflects that all men are shallow, with one very recent, very notable exception. They even offer her a vice guild leader position, a classic move to keep the pretty girl around. Having reached her absolute limit, she tells them to shut up and prepares a spell. She then attacks her own teammates, which is one way to file a resignation letter. The party leader is stunned, wondering why her friendly fire is actually, well, fire. She realizes the truth. He has the alchemist's bounty, and attacking him hurts her instead. Deciding they're not worth the trouble, she leaves to level up and find the man on her mind. She wonders if, in this vast new world, she'll ever find Mu Shen again. Her former teammates dismiss her, calling her nothing more than a pretty face. But their leader, Death Song, knows her true value, recognizing her sharp intellect. Meanwhile, Crazy War God is having a very public, very expensive meltdown in the world chat. His guild members rally behind him, furious at being wiped out for no apparent reason. Their tantrum is interrupted by a new arrival who seems unimpressed by the noise. It's Ting Wan, who calmly tells Crazy War God to stop wasting his breath. He seethes, realizing his guild is now lagging behind hers in both level and dignity. She stands her ground, determined to protect her new business partner and his valuable loot. Crazy War God loses it completely, screaming for Mu Shen to come out and fight like a man. Crazy War God's taunts are met with a simple, devastating reply from Mu Shen. And right on cue, our hero appears, ready to greet his new grandson. The bully is enraged by the disrespect, promising to make Mu Shen pay for his arrogance. Mu Shen, completely unbothered, takes a moment to admire his own impressive character sheet. The guild members collectively lose their minds, realizing he's not just high level, he's basically cheating. A stunned silence falls over the crowd as they realize they are completely outclassed. Mu Shen just smirks, calmly asking the bully what his next move will be. Refusing to back down, Crazy War God and his remaining men ready their weapons for a fight. They try to paint him as the villain, demanding he stand still and let them kill him for justice. Their leader grins, foolishly believing that a dozen weaklings can take down one apex predator. Mu Shen calmly explains he's not the villain here, they made themselves targets. The crowd turns on the bullies, realizing Mu Shen is just taking out the trash. Enraged, one of the goons charges forward, but Mu Shen is more than ready for a fight. Ting Wan offers her aid, but Mu Shen politely declines, saving her favor for another day. He tells her to stand back, a determined glint in his eye as he prepares for battle. The entire guild squares up, foolishly believing that numbers will give them an edge. Ting Wan watches from the sidelines, curious to see if his power matches his ego. He switches to group attack mode, complaining that these rookies are a waste of his mana. He leaps into the air, unleashing a volley of fireballs upon the unsuspecting guild. Their shields barely hold against the onslaught as their leader screams for a counterattack. The guild unleashes a coordinated volley of arrows and spells, but Mu Shen effortlessly weaves through the attacks, a confident smirk on his face. His speed is so overwhelming that the guild members completely lose track of him. He decides it's time to test out his new level 5 skill on these willing volunteers. A swirling vortex of ice magic hurtles towards the unsuspecting grunts. The spell erupts, instantly flash freezing the warriors in jagged shards of ice. His frost blossom dance blooms across the battlefield, trapping the entire guild. Crazy War God can only scream at his men as their health bars plummet. Mu Shen notes their tactical blunders, preparing to capitalize on their panic. His eyes glow with fiery power as he begins a silent countdown to their annihilation. He offers them a final, fiery surprise from the heavens above. The guild members can only stare in silent, cartoonish horror. A meteor shower of fire descends, their defensive skills already exhausted. Crazy War God chugs potions, cursing Mu Shen's impossible damage output. The hunter becomes the hunted as Mu Shen casually pursues the fleeing bully. In disbelief, Crazy War God decides to make one last desperate stand. He unleashes his strongest skill, a powerful slash with a massive cooldown. But Mu Shen's speed is overwhelming, easily evading the telegraphed attack. He taunts the warrior's slow speed before landing another fiery spell. Crazy War God blocks the blast, but Mu Shen dares him to keep fighting. The bully can't comprehend a mage's speed as Mu Shen lands another direct hit. Mu Shen calls for a timeout, which Crazy War God foolishly mistakes for surrender. He calmly suggests the warrior might want to check his rapidly dwindling health bar. A final, comically small fireball is all it takes to drain the last of his HP. Mu Shen feigns an apology, claiming he accidentally ended their playtime too soon. As his spirit fades, Crazy War God vows that this is far from over. With the fight concluded, the crowd's fear turns to instant adoration for their new hero. Even Ting Wan is left to wonder at the true, terrifying extent of his power. A server-wide announcement confirms his victory, broadcasting his 100-player kill streak. The news spreads across every server, making the name Mu Shen an instant legend. On the southern Jiangnan server, another player fumes, robbed of his prize at the last second. Meanwhile, on another server, the captain of a pro team laments being just 20 kills short himself. But instead of anger, he's intrigued, acknowledging a new power has entered the game. Even on Mu Shen's own server, a powerful sorceress is stunned by the announcement. The name strikes a chord, and she wonders if it's someone she knows from the real world. Oblivious to his growing fame, Mu Shen gets a sudden chill, wondering who's thinking of him. He's meeting with Ting Shui-wan again, ready to sell off his latest haul of gear. She follows warily, already dreading the ridiculous terms he's about to propose. He shows her the list of spoils, a mountain of loot that leaves her speechless. And right on cue, he offers another special discount, his intentions painfully obvious. Ting Shui-wan immediately shuts him down, insisting on paying the full price for the gear. He feigns disappointment, teasing that she missed out on a special free surprise. The surprise is a rare warlock skill book, which he offers at a friendship price. But of course, his friendship comes with some very specific, very questionable conditions. He seals the deal before she can object, adding a friendly tip to sweeten the pot. He reveals a secret grinding spot, hinting that it's tied to a hidden quest he needs her help with. She agrees to help, but her mind is racing, wondering how he knows these game-breaking secrets. With the terms set, Mu Shen extends his hand, sealing their new, very strange alliance. She realizes that partnering with this unpredictable powerhouse is an absolute necessity. As they shake on it, she admits he's piqued her curiosity, intrigued by the mystery he presents. Mu Shen logs out for a moment, relaxing in his top-of-the-line gaming pod. He reflects on this luxury, a comfort he couldn't afford until much later in his past life. With his resolve renewed, he twists the apocalypse ring and dives back into the game. He's immediately met with chaos as players panic over an impending world event. He calmly tries to reassure them, but the rookies are terrified of the level 5 boss. Unbeknownst to him, his every move is being streamed and analyzed by powerful guilds. Even rival players from other servers are watching, mocking his server's chances. The countdown hits 0, and a sudden ominous shadow falls over the village. The event begins, sending some players running for the hills while others charge bravely forward. But Mu Shen notices something different this time. The NPCs are joining the fight. The village chief rallies the players, calling on all young warriors to stand and fight. With a powerful cry, he urges them to fight for the village and for their future. A powerful buff washes over the players, a gift of encouragement from the old man. At the village gates, the players brace themselves as the forest itself begins to move. The first wave of monsters appears, enraged treants ready to crush the defenders. A skilled gunner takes the lead, telling her comrades to fall back as she opens fire. The battle erupts into chaos as players clash with the wooden monstrosities. Teamwork proves effective as players coordinate their attacks to target weak points. But the treants are far stronger than they look, easily ensnaring the unprepared players. The battlefield is a scene of pure pandemonium, with the players clearly losing ground. The treant horde surges forward, a relentless tide of wood and fury overwhelming the village walls. Players are ensnared, their brief respawn invincibility ticking down as they curse Mu Shen's name. The defeated can only cower at the spawn point, convinced they're about to be farmed by angry trees. The chaos is broadcast across the game, drawing a massive crowd of stunned onlookers. Players on other servers breathe a collective sigh of relief, grateful this disaster isn't their problem. Even high-level analysts are watching, admitting this event would challenge their own elite teams. A calculating gaze watches from afar, seeing not chaos but a wealth of strategic data. But just as all hope seems lost, a storm of fire descends from the heavens. The battlefield is transformed into a fiery inferno, incinerating the wooden army. A nearby player gawks at the damage, wondering if someone found the game's cheat codes on day 1. But the fire is followed by a flash of ice, freezing the treants in their tracks. The entire horde shatters into a million glittering shards of ice. The surviving players erupt in cheers, recognizing the spell of their new server hero. Mu Shen's silhouette appears, claiming he was just trying to let them get some experience. He casually chugs a mana potion, ready for the next wave of cannon fodder. Stepping into the light, he asks if it's too much for him to show off a little. He then leaps into the fray, a whirlwind of fire against the wooden army. The treants' attacks are useless, dealing so little damage it's more like a massage. His new fan club cheers from the sidelines, finally freed from the respawn point. With a confident smile, Mu Shen rallies the stunned players to join him on the front lines. Inspired by his one-man assault, the players rally and charge into the fray with renewed hope. His incredible performance has turned the server event into a global spectacle, drawing in new players. Ting Shui-wan arrives with her party, immediately guessing Mu Shen is responsible for the cleared area. Her guildmates lament their lost experience, wondering how they can possibly compete with him. With a determined stride, she rallies her team to join the fight and reclaim their progress. Elsewhere on the battlefield, other player groups are coordinating their own desperate defense. Support classes cast defensive spells, creating shields to absorb the Trent's crushing blows. A powerful buff washes over Mu Shen just as he notices Ting Xuewan has joined the battle. Ting Xuewan steps up, taking command and calling for all warlocks to rally to her side. Under her command, the players unleash a coordinated and devastating barrage of magic. Ting Xuewan's commands ring out, orchestrating a desperate but effective defense. The battle is now a global broadcast, with spectators watching the novice village's unlikely stand. The crowd buzzes with Mu Shen's name, realizing his actions single-handedly turned the tide. Elsewhere, Crazy War God rallies his guild, ready to swoop in and steal the glory. He grins, seeing not a crisis, but a golden opportunity to farm some easy experience points. But this event has drawn the attention of far more powerful eyes than a few petty guilds. In a high-tech facility, a military commander orders his own forces to replicate the event. His subordinate hesitates, warning that their soldiers are under-leveled for such a difficult mission. But the commander's pride won't allow him to be outdone by some random player on another server. With a chilling threat, he forces his deputy's hand, setting his own nation on a collision course with disaster. The players erupt in cheers, celebrating their victory and praising Mu Shen's leadership. But their joy is cut short as a new, far more terrifying threat descends from the sky. The ground itself erupts as massive, corrupted roots tear through the forest. The final boss of the event appears, the level 10 Enchanted Tree God. With a demonic roar, the corrupted Lord of the Forest prepares to attack. It smashes through the player ranks, sending bodies flying with a single swipe. Its other hand descends like a meteor, targeting Ting Xuewan directly. She's completely paralyzed by fear, unable to dodge the incoming attack. The monster's hands clap together with devastating force, crushing everything between them. But at the last second, Mu Shen swoops in, pulling her from the jaws of death. He lands with Ting Xuewan, wondering if his reborn status is making him a prime target. The other players' attacks are like pebbles, barely chipping away at the monster's health. Panic spreads as they realize the boss has insane stats, making it virtually unkillable. To make matters worse, the tree god roars, and its entire army of minions responds. Defeated, the players turn to their only hope, begging Mu Shen for a miracle. Mu Shen calmly tells them to handle the small fry. He's got the big one all to himself. No pressure. Ting Xuewan accepts the plan, promising to hold the line while he faces the boss. She immediately takes command, her voice cutting through the chaos to rally the players. Under her leadership, the scattered mob becomes a disciplined army coordinating their attacks. Mu Shen watches with approval, seeing the first glimpse of the great commander she will become. The tree god roars, its corrupted form crackling with dark, destructive energy. He calmly dodges the onslaught, wondering why the boss seems to have a personal vendetta against him. But Mu Shen knows its history, recalling the secret weakness of this once noble forest guardian. He strikes the monster's heart, landing a critical hit that dwarfs the other player's damage. He knows the true damage is to its soul, a wound that no in-game skill can ever restore. His strategy is simple: stay mobile, manage his mana, and slowly chip away at the giant's health. Realizing the boss's attacks are disrupting the others, he decides to lure it away from the main battle. Ting Xuewan steps up, ordering her forces to support the respawning players and hold the line. She watches him go, a mix of determination and admiration on her face as she accepts his trust. The enraged tree god gives chase, its full attention now fixed on the lone mage leading it away. The tree god unleashes a storm of thorny branches, trying to overwhelm its target. But with his stacked speed buffs, Mu Shen dances through the assault like it's a ballet. He retaliates with a torrent of fire, setting the ancient guardian ablaze. Keeping his distance, he continues to bombard the boss with powerful spells. A meteor shower rains down, each impact chipping away at the monster's massive health pool. He follows the inferno with a wave of ice, a devastating combination of elements. Mu Shen smirks, offering the boss a complimentary tasting menu of pain. Back at the village, Ting Xuewan calculates that victory is only 2 minutes away. Inspired, the players rally for one final charge to hold the line and buy him time. Mu Shen lands a perfectly timed spell, freezing the tree god solid in its tracks. He prepares one last devastating spell to end the fight for good. The spell connects, engulfing the tree god in a cataclysmic explosion. As its body disintegrates, the corrupted guardian spirit finds a moment of clarity. With the boss defeated, its entire army of minions crumbles back into dust. A global announcement declares Mu Shen the first player in the world to clear the event. The entire village erupts in celebration as the system rewards their successful defense. The victory broadcast sends shockwaves through the real world as players celebrate their new riches. On the game forums, players from other villages can only express their shock and envy. Among the spoils, Mu Shen finds the final piece needed to awaken his mysterious relic. The massive EXP gain pushes him all the way to level 9, widening the gap even further. With the final component acquired, Mu Shen prepares to awaken the mysterious handbone. The relic accepts the offerings, confirming the materials he's gathered are correct. A progress bar appears as the bone begins to absorb the essence of his victories. But the activation process traps him in place, a surge of power he can't control. Nearby, Ting Xuewan senses a strange disturbance, wondering if the event isn't truly over. A new debuff appears on her screen, Death's Gaze, completely paralyzing her. The entire area is frozen as every player is hit with the same mysterious affliction. A dark fog rolls in, obscuring their vision and adding to the growing panic. Worse yet, their health bars begin to drain and no one can figure out why. With skills and potions locked, they can only watch as their health plummets towards 0. Ting Xuewan tries to calm the panicked players, theorizing this is just a server bug. Her thoughts immediately turn to Mu Shen, worried he's triggered this and is now in danger. Deep in the forest, Mu Shen is also paralyzed, questioning the nature of this Death's Gaze. The sky itself seems to tear open, revealing a pair of colossal, malevolent red eyes. He looks up in horror, recognizing the gaze as the activation progress slowly climbs. The ominous gaze intensifies, its power fueling the relic's awakening. A horrifying realization dawns on him. This is the Death God itself. He panics, recalling the Death God as the final harbinger, not a Day 1 tutorial boss. He connects the dots. Activating the handbone has fast-tracked the end of the world. A familiar voice echoes in his mind, the same one he heard just before his death in the future. The Death God manifests before him, a towering specter of pure, unadulterated dread. Mu Shen recognizes the scythe, realizing he's about to die for the second time in his life. He struggles against the invisible bonds, a grim memory of his past failure flashing before his eyes. As darkness consumes the world, the Death God's reign officially begins. But instead of an attack, the entity offers Mu Shen a choice, life or death. The offer is a special quest to become its champion, complete with game-breaking stats. Mu Shen is completely bewildered, wondering why the final boss is offering him a job. He cycles through protagonist tropes before the system lays out the first, very tempting option. The second option is far less appealing. Refuse the offer and get a full account wipe. He weighs his options, realizing losing his progress is a fate almost worse than death. He tries to stall for time, telling the literal god of death he needs a moment to consider the offer. But it's all a ruse, a desperate attempt to buy the last few seconds for the handbone to activate. The Death God looms over him, its patience wearing thin as the activation bar hits 95%. Reflecting on the trials of his second life, he finally prepares to give his answer. A fire of pure defiance ignites in his eyes, the look of a man who has faced this before. With a defiant roar that echoes through the void, he screams his refusal. The Death God is enraged, mocking the foolish ant who would dare refuse its power. But Mu Shen just smirks, declaring he would never bow to his mortal enemy. As the scythe descends, he dares the entity to kill him, vowing he can always start over. He braces for impact, confident that in 3 seconds he'll just be a hero all over again. But just as the scythe falls, a brilliant beam of light descends from the heavens. It slams into the Death God's scythe, shattering the fatal blow at the last possible second. Mu Shen can only stare in disbelief, his grand plan for a heroic reset completely derailed. The Death God roars in fury, recognizing the power of its celestial rival, Michael. It mocks the unseen savior, promising that this mortal's fate is already sealed. A radiant, winged figure materializes, and Mu Shen realizes he's just traded one god for another. It's the Archangel Michael, supreme commander of the Temple Angels, looking very disappointed in the local management. With a single command to return to the abyss, Michael unleashes a punch of pure, holy fire. The blast of divine energy rockets into the sky, striking the retreating form of the Death God. As it fades, the entity vows to return, claiming Mu Shen is cursed and destined to serve it. Mu Shen is stunned, recognizing the overwhelming power that just banished his mortal enemy. He recalls the lore. The temple's angel legion represents the gods, while the Death God leads the demons. Our boy realizes he didn't just summon one god, but accidentally started a divine custody battle. The Archangel Michael congratulates him on his choice as the paralyzing aura finally lifts. As he awkwardly tries to greet the angel, the handbone finally finishes activating. Perfect timing. Michael offers him a legendary quest, a trial to earn the coveted title of Temple Mage. Mushin is floored, knowing this title is a game changer that unlocks endgame content. He eagerly accepts, and Michael bestows upon him a spoil of war taken from the demons. The gift materializes in his hand, a mysterious necklace with a glowing draconic eye. It's a damaged, uncleaned evil dragon necklace with no stats and an unknown quality. With a final blessing, the Archangel sends Mu Shen on his new, more powerful path. As the light of the apocalypse shines down, the celestial being vanishes from sight. Mu Shen examines his prize, recognizing it as part of the legendary evil dragon armor set. He erupts in pure joy, knowing this set belonged to an invincible player in his past life. He dreams of cleansing it to legendary quality, a thought so exciting it nearly gives him a heart attack. With that sorted, he turns his attention to the now activated Death God's handbone. Its stats are revealed, a skill that doubles all damage for 1 minute and stacks with crits. Mushin realizes this means a critical hit would deal a staggering 4 times the normal damage. Overcome with emotion, he feels that all his struggles have finally been worth it. But his joy is short-lived when he sees the upgrade cost, a soul-crushing 5 million experience points. With the divine drama over, Mushin turns his attention to the tree god's treasure chest. He sits among his spoils, deciding to first inspect the mysterious tree god's longing. The item activates, summoning the spectral form of the forest guardian he just defeated. The spirit thanks him for its release and offers one final hidden quest before it fades. He accepts because what's one more god-slaying quest on his to-do list? He realizes this new mission aligns perfectly with the trial given to him by Archangel Michael. The scene shifts from the game world to the quiet solitude of space, focusing on Earth. But an ominous celestial body is on an intercept course, its arrival precisely calculated. Scientists predict a low chance of impact, but a collision would be an extinction-level event. But the true threat isn't a rock. It's the first invader, the Godslayer Apophis. Mushin knows this is all just a prelude to the real battle against the world-ender Apophis. He recalls that in his past life, it took a level 15 pro team to achieve what he just did solo. But with the future on hold, he turns his attention back to the spoils of his victory. The rewards from the tree god and the server first kill are absolutely staggering. He can barely contain his excitement, seeing a universal skill book and a mountain of gold. Without hesitation, he learns the new skill, adding another ace to his already stacked deck. The ability to summon a doppelganger in battle leaves him speechless with its potential. He also understands the true value of temple prestige, a key to unlocking the game's deepest secrets. The global first kill chest is even better, showering him with more loot than he can carry. He equips his new Demon Slayer title, a perfect weapon for the war he knows is coming. With his new levels, Mu Shen dumps every point into magic, creating the ultimate glass cannon build. He makes a mental note of his new quests before heading back to town to identify his legendary loot. At the village respawn point, players finally reappear, complaining about the bug that trapped them. But their complaints are cut short as their server's hero, Mu Shen, teleports right into their midst. The crowd immediately mobs him with praise, gratitude, and some very forward personal requests. He uses his newfound fame to rally the players, inspiring them to aim for the main city. Meanwhile, the prideful commander from the Wing Kingdom is furious his nation lost the world-first title. His subordinate confirms their forces are being wiped out, a humiliating failure for the overconfident leader. Back in the game, Mushin returns to the alchemy shop, ready to spend a fortune on his new necklace. The alchemist thanks him for completing her bounty, her demeanor now far more respectful than before. He carefully applies the purification liquid, praying for a legendary outcome he never saw in his past life. The system confirms his success, and the necklace glows with a brilliant, world-changing light. With the item purified, he pulls out an identification scroll to reveal its true hidden power. He activates the scroll, eagerly anticipating the game-breaking stats he's about to unlock. The results are staggering, a legendary necklace with stats that eclipse his entire current build. A quick look at his character sheet confirms he's become an absolute monster on the server. He plans his next move, aiming to hit level 10 and monopolize the early game bosses. But his plans are interrupted by a massive pillar of light crashing down from the heavens. Mushin's face hardens. He knows this isn't a random event, but the arrival of Apophis. Other players scatter in confusion as the meteor impacts, completely unaware of the world-ending threat that has just landed. The meteor's impact sends a shockwave of fire across the land. The blast tears through the forest, a cataclysmic event that dwarfs the previous battle. Mushin knows this is just a fraction of its true power, a mere simulation of the real thing. The players flee in terror as the flames threaten to consume the entire village. But just as the fire reaches the town, a powerful stomp echoes through the chaos. The village chief leaps into action, unleashing a torrent of pure water magic. His spell forms a massive tidal wave, crashing against the inferno with incredible force. The players are stunned, realizing the old quest giver is actually a secret badass. The two opposing elements collide, engulfing the battlefield in a cloud of steam. With the threat neutralized, their fear turns to awe as they beg the chief for a hidden quest. The village chief considers the new threat with a grave, thoughtful expression. He then rallies the players, announcing the arrival of Apophis and offering a server-wide buff. A global announcement confirms the World Ender is here, opening the first dungeon for all players. Mushin understands this is no random event. Apophis is hunting for something specific. He recalls the horror of his past life when the game's lore became humanity's grim reality. He knows revealing the future now would be pointless, as the world is not yet ready to listen. His resolve hardens. He must become overwhelmingly powerful before the game bleeds into their world. He knows the new dungeon can't be cleared with money alone, but the top guilds will surely try. Deciding to let the others wear themselves out, he logs off to get some much-needed rest. The sun rises over a peaceful city, a stark contrast to the chaos he just left behind. After a good night's sleep, Mushin decides to check on the progress of the server's rookies. The official forums are a predictable mess of complaints, fear, and utter confusion. He smirks, knowing this simple dungeon is nothing compared to the horrors that await them. Even the world's top guilds are struggling, stuck on the very first boss of the new dungeon. With the world's best players failing, he decides it's time to show them how it's done. He logs back in, materializing in the village as a level 9 powerhouse. But he's immediately met by Ting Shui-wan, who has somehow already caught up to his level. She thanks him for the gear and invites him to join her guild's dungeon run. Mushin just smirks, realizing her insider info is just a strategy report from a pro team. She meets his confidence with her own, assuring him she's more than capable of keeping up. But Mushin turns her business offer into a personal one, leaving her completely flustered. He recognizes the confidence in her offer, knowing she must have powerful backing. But despite the value of her intel, he calmly turns down the generous proposal. Ting Shui-wan is left utterly speechless, unable to comprehend his refusal. He then offers some unsolicited advice: level up because the dungeon will crush her. With a casual wave, he leaves her to wonder if he truly plans to solo the impossible. An hour later, the world chat is a mess of complaints about Mushin's farming efficiency. So he starts calling his shots, turning his rampage into a server-wide farming schedule. His grinding pays off as a server announcement confirms he's the first to hit level 10. With his new level secured, he immediately heads back to see the village chief. He slams his hands on the table, declaring his next ambitious move, to create a guild. The village chief is ecstatic, fully supporting the idea and naming the hefty price. A system prompt confirms the staggering 300,000 gold fee, which Mushin calls highway robbery. But determined to forge his own path this time, he accepts the cost and begins the process. He christens his new guild Fengshan Valley, envisioning it as a force to protect the world. The server-wide announcement reaches Ting Shui-wan, who is stunned by his rapid progress. Across the server, other powerful players take note of the new guild and its ambitious founder. Even his rival, Crazy War God, can only scoff as his guild members report the news. His inbox is immediately flooded with over 999 applications. Turns out being a hero is great for recruitment. Mushin inspects his new one-man guild, already planning to use a system reward to boost its level. The new guild altar grants a random daily blessing, and his first roll is a lucky dodge buff. He heads to the blacksmith, saving his best scrolls for later and buying some cheaper ones for his new gear. The scrolls reveal 2 pieces of a purple set, though one has a speed boost for running away, which he finds insulting. To complete the set, he puts out a server-wide call, offering a high price for the matching helmet. His inbox is instantly flooded with fan mail, marriage proposals, and guild applications. But one message is different, offering services that leave our war-torn veteran deeply disturbed. A serious offer finally arrives from a player named Code 13, a low-level assassin with impossible luck. He asks for a price, but the assassin claims they're not selling, just letting him know they have it. Mushin points out the helmet is for mages, but the troll just doubles down before getting blocked. The assassin then makes a new offer, the helmet in exchange for a spot in his prestigious new guild. A system notification confirms it. Mushin has accepted the troll's offer. He muses that his guild should be exclusive, despite just letting in a complete random. After all, the #1 guild has standards, which are apparently very, very flexible. His new recruit arrives with all the subtlety of a firework, leaving Mu Shen instantly regretting his decision. The assassin questions their two-man army, while Mu Shen plots a very swift, very permanent downsizing. But then the new guy notices the empty guild bank and decides to make a small donation. Mu Shen's jaw hits the floor as the guild funds skyrocket, wondering if he just recruited a madman. The assassin complains about the donation cap, as Mu Shen's standards evaporate in a shower of gold. With the helmet secured, he completes the set, gaining a massive cooldown reduction and a life-saving passive. Fully equipped, he prepares for the dungeon, only to find his new sugar daddy is spamming him for a party invite. Mu Shen immediately exercises his guild leader privileges, silencing his new recruit for an hour. He then tells the kid to go level up, and the surprisingly obedient assassin runs off to do just that. His next move is to invite Ting Shuiwan, but his dungeon pass comes with a hefty price tag. He casually calls out to her, but she's still skeptical of his overconfidence. She explains the server's struggles, but he just calls them weak and gives her a deadline. He offers a simple, unwavering promise, a guaranteed clear of the impossible dungeon. She tries to negotiate the terms, demanding a refund if he fails to deliver on his promise. He immediately backpedals with a joke, leaving her fuming as he runs off to prepare for the run. Hours later, the team assembles, and the newly leveled assassin is immediately distracted by Ting Shuiwan. He immediately tries to flirt, completely unaware of the powerful commander he's talking to. Mushin puts his new recruit to work, tasking him with promoting their dungeon carry service. The assassin takes his new job a little too literally, shouting out the 200,000 gold price for the remaining spots. The world chat immediately erupts with skepticism, with players calling Mushin a low-level scammer. Ting Shuiwan cleverly buys both spots, deciding to bring her own guild members along for the ride. Two of her guild mates join the party, one skeptical of Mushin's claims and the other just happy to be there. The assassin immediately tries to charm the new arrivals, who seem less than impressed by his confidence. He then asks Mushin for permission to show off, a request that our hero seems to instantly regret. His idea of showing off is to spam the world chat 1,000 times, declaring his guild's inevitable victory. The entire party is left speechless, realizing their new teammate just spent 1,000,000 gold on advertising. As they arrive at the dungeon, onlookers mock their strange party composition, unaware of the powerhouse leading them. The party descends into the dungeon, with Mu Shen leading the charge and the assassin appreciating the scenery. They arrive in the ancient wood god temple, its sheer scale earning a shout of awe from the assassin. But Mu Shen immediately silences them, his calm authority cutting through the noise. They've reached the first puzzle, a deadly maze of doors that has stumped every other team. One of Ting Shuiwan's guildmates challenges him, offering to lead them straight to the boss. She continues her rant, but Mu Shen seems completely unfazed by her complaints. He calmly offers her an out, helpfully reminding her that refunds are not part of the service. The assassin steps in to defend his boss, but the warrior just turns her anger on him instead. Done with the bickering, Mu Shen simply moves forward, telling the squabbling party to keep up. The maze leads them to a grotesque corridor, where the unsettling atmosphere puts everyone on edge. The warrior guildmate warns of deadly blood demons ahead, a threat that has wiped out even the best teams. But Mu Shen calmly leads them through the passage, assuring them the monsters are harmless if left alone. True to his word, the terrifying demons remain dormant, leaving the party to wonder how he knows these secrets. They emerge from the fleshy corridor only to find another puzzle, a new maze of identical doors. The assassin smugly tells the others to trust Mu Shen's judgment as he leads them down the chosen path. The path leads to a chamber littered with bones, and the assassin nervously jokes about them coming back to life. Right on cue, a skeletal hand twitches, grasping a nearby sword from the floor. The warrior immediately blames the assassin for jinxing them as the bones begin to reassemble. Nice going, genius. An army of skeleton soldiers rises, their red eyes glowing with a hunger for fresh blood. With a silent, rattling roar, the first undead warrior lunges forward to attack. The assassin leaps into action, unleashing a whirlwind of blades against the undead horde. His attack connects, but the damage is surprisingly low against the armored foe. The skeleton seems more annoyed than injured, its eyes glowing with renewed malice. Ting Xuewan's guildmates form a defensive line, realizing these mobs are far tougher than expected. Their coordinated spells rain down, but the skeletons just keep coming. The warrior finds herself quickly overwhelmed, surrounded by the relentless undead. Her shield barely holds as a powerful blow sends a shockwave through her defenses. The support mages desperately try to keep her alive, proving this guaranteed clear is off to a great start. Even Ting Xuewan's powerful frost magic barely scratches their bony armor. With their formation crumbling, the warrior turns her anger on Mu Shen, accusing him of being a fraud. But Mu Shen finally steps in, calmly telling them he'll take care of it. He follows the initial blast with a wave of ice, unleashing his Frost Blossom Dance. The spell erupts across the chamber, flash freezing the entire undead army in its tracks. With the horde immobilized, he calls down a devastating rain of fire from above. The rest of the party can only stare in awe, their complaints silenced by his overwhelming power. He calmly explains their weakness to elemental magic and asks his party to collect the loot. But the warrior is furious to find the loot settings are locked, sending everything straight to Mu Shen. He feigns poverty while sarcastically complimenting their brave performance in the fight. The assassin tries to smooth things over, but the rest of the team is not impressed by his simping. Their path leads them to a massive chasm, a route where another top team met its end. The warrior is furious, questioning if Mu Shen has a death wish for suggesting they jump, but he calmly borrows a shield, telling them he'll handle this part alone. Without another word, he leaps into the chasm, using the shield to surf the molten rock below. The lava barely tickles his health bar as he navigates the fiery river with ease. He even has time for some flair, using his ice magic to create a frozen path. His party can only watch from above, completely baffled by his impossible knowledge of the dungeon. He stops at a precise location, raising his staff as if he knows exactly what he's looking for. A powerful spell erupts, encasing a hidden item in a massive crystal of ice. He returns just as promised, immediately met with accusations of hiding treasure for himself. But his prize is a strange golden chick, a secret item no one has ever seen before. Their path leads to a frozen wasteland, where a system debuff immediately slows their advance. Before they can complain, the ice shatters as something massive bursts from below. A jagged crystalline horn pierces the surface, heralding the dungeon's next guardian. It's a human-faced centipede, a level 10 elite with horrifying stats and a face for every nightmare. The beast roars, its many faces twisted in silent agony as it squares off against Mu Shen. It unleashes a piercing psychic shriek, sending the rest of the party reeling in pain. But Mu Shen is completely unfazed, ordering his team to spread out as he charges forward. His fireball connects for a massive critical hit, proving fire is a great solution for most ice-related problems. Enraged, the centipede's main head rears back, preparing a devastating counterattack. It unleashes a torrent of frost, catching the scattered party in a wide-area blast. Mu Shen dodges the icy blast, shouting that he'll draw the monster's full attention. He immediately calls out the boss's weakness, directing the party to its vulnerable abdomen. As the others attack, Ting Xuewan realizes her ice magic is completely useless here. The centipede charges a new attack, crackling with a strange electrical energy. It unleashes a devastating energy wave, and Mu Shen knows a single hit could be fatal. He remembers his hidden quest: clear the dungeon without taking a single point of damage. The assassin lands a critical hit on its abdomen, stunning the beast for a precious few seconds. Just as the stun wears off, Mu Shen warns them to brace for the inevitable counterattack. The warrior charges in, shattering its armor as Mu Shen's fireballs land for massive damage. But the beast retaliates with a wave of ice, sending the assassin running for his life, his earlier bravado completely forgotten. Ting Xuewan's guildmate warns the party as the centipede summons a massive ice storm. But Mu Shen tells them to fall back, drawing the monster's full attention onto himself. With his fastest man title active, he effortlessly weaves through the icy vortexes. The party marvels at his speed as he dodges a barrage of deadly ice shards. With its health critically low, the centipede begins to glow with a furious red energy. Ting Xuewan cries out a warning, realizing the boss is about to enter its berserk phase. The ground erupts as the monster summons a horde of smaller centipedes to aid it. The main boss roars, its body now pulsing with rage and its many faces twisted in agony. It curls into a defensive ball, its stats revealing it's now completely immune to all damage. While the others panic, the assassin just smirks, completely confident in his new boss's abilities. The centipede unleashes a storm of energy, a final, desperate attack from its invulnerable shell. The assassin watches the incoming barrage, certain that the boss is about to be wiped out. But Mushin reveals his ace in the hole, tossing the golden chick directly into the path of the attack. The party can only stare in confusion as the tiny bird chirps defiantly at the incoming doom. It erupts in a blinding flash of light, a holy hand grenade in poultry form. The chick transforms into a massive golden rooster, a majestic guardian summoned from the ether. Its radiant feathers form an impenetrable shield, deflecting every single one of the boss's attacks. The party is left speechless, realizing Mushin just used a chicken to cheese the server's hardest boss. With its ultimate attack countered, the centipede's berserk state ends, leaving it dizzy and exposed. Mushin immediately capitalizes on the opening, landing a massive critical hit on the stunned beast. He follows up with a final devastating spell, and a system message confirms their victory. The boss drops a mountain of loot, including a rare purple-tier item. Ting Xuewan's guildmate notes the item is perfect for her, and she immediately starts the bidding. But the assassin immediately doubles her bid, much to everyone's surprise. The others question his motives, but he just compliments Ting Xuewan, saying the gear would suit her. He then claims he's buying it for another girl, a move that only annoys the party further. Mushin starts the auction, and a bidding war immediately erupts between Ting Xuewan and the assassin. The price skyrockets, with Ting Xuewan finally placing a winning bid of 200,000 gold. The assassin confirms that all the profits go directly to Mushin, who smugly agrees. Then, to prove his loyalty, the assassin bids a staggering 500,000 gold just to make a point. Ting Xuewan concedes the bid, stunned by the assassin's reckless spending. With the drama settled, Mushin tries to move the party forward, ignoring his bickering teammates. The warrior can't believe they cleared the boss, while the assassin takes credit for the carry. Mushin ignores them, placing his hand on a massive door to unlock the next area. The stone gate rumbles open, revealing a brightly lit path to the dungeon's heart. They step into a vast, snowy forest, the final boss's domain. Mushin explains the boss's special mechanic, ordering them to stand by the stone pillars. He prepares to trigger the fight alone as his party offers some very awkward encouragement. With his staff in hand, Mushin walks alone towards a distant, ominous structure. He arrives at a small house, the hidden entrance to the final boss's inner sanctum. A system message reveals the house's dark history. 48 workers were sealed inside by a curse. Over the years, their souls merged into one, and Mushin is standing right in its lair. Outside, the assassin gets jumpy, and the warrior guildmate is quick to mock his fear. He tries to play it cool, but she calls him out for being a coward in such a realistic game. She then terrifies him by reminding him of the ghosts they passed, which is just delightful teamwork. But Ting Xuewan and her friend are also on edge, having heard whispers on the wind. Inside, Mushin surveys the desolate room, the air thick with a malevolent presence. He senses the cursed energy swirling around him, growing stronger with each passing second. A creak from the floorboards below signals that he is no longer alone. Suddenly, the door slams shut behind him, trapping him inside with whatever horrors await. He realizes these monsters are intelligent, with unpredictable spawn patterns. His hidden quest hangs in the balance, requiring a flawless, no-damage clear. A grotesque cursed worker lunges from the shadows with a horrifying shriek. Its stats reveal a tragic backstory of cursed immortality and lost humanity. Mushin narrowly dodges, obliterating the creature with a single fiery blast. As the first monster dissolves, he prepares for whatever comes next. But more creatures burst from the walls, and he prepares a frost spell to hold them. His ice magic spreads across the floor, freezing the charging monsters in place. Suddenly, the entire room erupts as dozens of them pour from every opening. Mushin is stunned. His past knowledge didn't account for a full-on zombie apocalypse party. He unleashes his frost blossom dance, flash freezing the horde in their tracks. He shatters the frozen wave, but realizes he's trapped in a deadly cycle of respawns. With his hidden quest on the line, he knows a single hit means failure. But he remembers his new skill, Energy Surge, and summons a perfect doppelganger. With his new partner in crime, he orders a coordinated magical assault. They unleash a volley of fire, though his clone's damage is only half as strong. But even at half power, the combined barrage is enough to hold the line. The constant spellcasting takes its toll, and his mana bar plummets towards empty. With the horde still advancing, he knows he needs a new plan to finish the quest. He turns to his clone with a sly grin, offering a very suspicious apology. He then punts his own clone directly into the horde, a truly noble sacrifice. As the doppelganger is torn apart, The real Mu Shen casually chugs a mana potion. With the kill count met, he unleashes a massive ice spell to trigger the next phase. The defeated monsters begin to merge, forming a new, unknown entity behind the door. The shadows and splatters on the door hint at the gruesome transformation taking place. Mu Shen recalls the mechanic. Kill enough in 10 minutes or they respawn forever. He knows this dungeon is designed to be an impossible wall for unprepared players. Outside, the assassin nervously repeats Mu Shen's orders for the party to hold their positions. But the warrior has had enough, calling him out for being the weakest link in the party. Their argument is cut short as a massive explosion erupts from the boss's chamber. The explosion gives way to a cloud of smoke, from which dozens of grasping, demonic arms emerge. The cursed souls merge into a single horrifying entity with a massive health pool and a nasty regeneration skill. The party watches in disgust, realizing this boss can heal for half its health multiple times. The abomination curls into a ball of pure nightmare fuel and launches itself directly at Mu Shen. But Mu Shen stands his ground, meeting the charge with a powerful spell that erupts on impact. He notes the boss's high resilience makes critical hits nearly impossible, chipping away at its health. The creature uncoils for a devastating swipe as his party members cry out in warning. He parries the blow with his staff, unleashing another point-blank blast of fire into its grotesque form. He steps back, remembering just in time that the monster's blood is highly corrosive. He knows their only chance is to lure it to the pillars, the key to disabling its powerful regeneration. He begins the kiting process, dodging the abomination's massive, grasping claws. He unleashes a volley of fireballs, shouting a warning about the monster's unhealable poison blood. The rest of the party joins the fray, but the monster's attacks are relentless. The assassin, caught completely off guard, is nearly swatted like a fly. A desperate, coordinated assault from the mages barely manages to save him. Just as they're about to be overwhelmed, a wave of ice freezes the monster's attack mid-swing. Mu Shen calmly accepts their thanks, having saved them with perfect timing. The assassin can only stare in awe as his boss prepares to face the beast alone. But instead of attacking the boss, Mu Shen unleashes his Frost Blossom dance on the pillars. The entire party is left stunned, wondering why he's attacking the terrain instead of the monster. The abomination lunges forward, but Mu Shen is already in motion, dodging its grasping claws. His party can only watch in terror, screaming for him to evade the relentless assault. But with his fastest man title active, he weaves through the attacks like a phantom. He finds his opening, unleashing a powerful blast and shouting for his team to act. He lures the monster into position, daring his party to execute the final part of his plan. He activates the pillars, which erupt in a brilliant flash of purple, purifying light. A massive dome of energy forms, trapping the monster in a cage of holy runes. Beams of light rain down, striking the abomination with overwhelming divine power. The creature's regeneration is finally severed as the light petrifies its cursed form. His teammates are left speechless, wondering if this light show means the boss is finally killable. The warrior calls out, realizing the boss has gained a new powerful status effect. The purple light seal has trapped the monster, disabling its regeneration for 30 precious seconds. With their window of opportunity open, the entire party charges forward for the final assault. The warrior leads the attack, landing a powerful kick against the petrified abomination. Mu Shen follows up with a devastating rain of fire, shredding the last of the monster's health. The creature is sent flying, its massive form finally succumbing to their overwhelming power. The party celebrates their victory, but Ting Xuewan notices the boss's corpse is still moving. The grotesque form dissolves, revealing the freed souls of the cursed workers underneath. The grateful spirits bow before the party, thanking them for releasing them from the darkness. Before fading away, they offer their last remaining treasures as a final reward for their salvation. The chests overflow with gold and rare items, a king's ransom for their efforts. The assassin is thrilled with the haul, noting they've scored 2 purple teardrops. But as Mu Shen inspects the loot, his expression shifts to one of surprise. System notifications confirm he's found 2 pieces of the frosted glass set. The rest of the party can only stare in disbelief at his impossible luck. The assassin plans to gift the set to a girl, but Mu Shen just starts the auction. And right on cue, the assassin bids 1,000,000 gold for the 2 new pieces. He then turns to Ting Xuewan, cheekily asking if she's still in the running. His teammates are less than impressed with his casual display of wealth. Mu Shen reflects on the situation, realizing this wealthy, unknown assassin is a new variable. With the boss defeated, Mu Shen declares it's time to move on to the next level. He leads his party deeper into the dungeon, down a dark and foreboding staircase. They find ancient murals, which Mu Shen reveals depict a real historical event, the Monster Plague. A system message warns them they've entered the inner hall, a trial of life and death. The rules are simple. Infinite respawns, but don't look at the Serpent Queen. Easy, right? The assassin tries to be helpful, but the warrior guildmate is still not a fan of his attitude. Mu Shen calmly informs the party that for this next trial, they're completely on their own. He explains that infinite respawns just means they're about to experience infinite deaths. Right on cue, a horde of dust serpents emerges, ready to deliver that very experience. Mu Shen orders an all-out AoE assault, but the assassin seems to have missed that memo. The party unleashes a coordinated barrage of spells against the serpent horde. But their attacks are useless as the serpents instantly regenerate the damage. Mu Shen realizes their regeneration is too strong, only a critical hit can kill them. He unleashes a devastating rain of fire, hoping to overwhelm their healing. The assassin finds himself on the receiving end of a brutal tail whip. He's quickly turned into a fleshy punching bag for the angry snake. The warrior guildmate saves him with a heal, earning his very grateful thanks. With the last serpent defeated, the assassin celebrates their hard-won victory. But their celebration is cut short as the dust begins to swirl and coalesce. The sand forms into the dungeon's third boss, the faceless Serpent Queen. The Serpent Queen's eyes glow and Mu Shen screams a warning, but it's already too late. The entire party is hit with an unhealable poison, their health bars draining as paralysis takes hold. The assassin is the first to fall, a beam of light signaling his swift, unceremonious demise. The rest of the team follows suit, collapsing as the poison's agonizing effects take over. The infinite respawn mechanic kicks in, only to become an infinite death loop. So much for a second chance. They're tossed around like ragdolls, questioning if this game was designed by a sadist. Mu Shen, completely immune, calmly tells them to close their eyes as he repositions his team. Humbled and defeated, the party finally admits that Mu Shen's carry service is worth every penny. But the trial isn't over. He warns them the boss is about to enter its next phase. With the Serpent Queen now a towering giant, he orders his team to open their eyes and fight. The party stares in horror as the faceless Serpent Queen reveals its true, terrifying form. Mu Shen orders a ranged assault, but the assassin admits he's a little under-equipped for that. The party unleashes a volley of spells as the warrior narrowly dodges a sweeping tail attack. Their coordinated attacks connect, chipping away at the monster's massive health pool, but the Serpent Queen retaliates, unleashing a wide-area spray of deadly poison. Mu Shen shouts a desperate warning for his new recruit to watch out for the venom. He immediately takes command, ordering a tactical retreat to regroup from the assault. The warrior raises her shield, creating a barrier to block the incoming toxic spray. But the poison rains down, catching the rest of the party in its deadly volley. The assassin can only watch in dismay, his bravado completely washed away by the toxic onslaught. Ting Xuan's guildmate casts a powerful buff, boosting Mu Shen's magic attack. His enhanced fireball slams into one of the serpents with devastating force. Mu Shen takes command, directing his team to focus their fire and control the battlefield. With renewed confidence, the entire party charges forward for a coordinated assault. Their combined attacks begin to chip away at the Serpent Queen's massive health bar. But the boss's eyes begin to glow, signaling a far more dangerous phase is about to begin. Ting Xuan recognizes the signs, warning the party of its ultimate skill, the Myriad Serpent's Curse. The Serpent Queen unleashes a tidal wave of cursed tendrils swarming the battlefield. The party is immediately overwhelmed, with the assassin complaining about his sudden case of claustrophobia. Mu Shen realizes this skill is far more common now, and their current firepower won't be enough to stop it. But Mu Shen turns to his clone with a familiar sacrificial grin. He then launches his doppelganger with a powerful kick, creating a human cannon. The clone sails through the air, landing squarely on the Serpent Queen's face. The rest of the party can only stare, wondering what kind of leadership involves yeeting your own teammates. With the boss distracted, Mu Shen orders his team to capitalize on the opening. They unleash a devastating barrage, knowing the clone's distraction is only temporary. The Serpent Queen finally grabs the clone, crushing the magical decoy in its hand. With the boss's attention back on him, Mu Shen orders his team to focus all their firepower. He expertly weaves through the serpent tendrils, his no-damage quest still on the line. But the swarm is relentless, and he quickly finds himself with nowhere left to run. With his back against the wall, Mu Shen decides to risk it all on one final spell. His fireball flies true, aimed at the last sliver of the Serpent Queen's health. But a lone serpent lunges forward, threatening to end his flawless no-damage run. The party cries out in panic as the warrior unleashes a desperate frost spell. The ice connects just in time, freezing the serpent's attack inches from his face. With the opening secured, Mu Shen lands a final devastating critical hit. The Serpent Queen and her endless horde finally dissolve back into dust. Mu Shen breathes a sigh of relief, his gamble having paid off spectacularly. The defeated boss explodes into a shower of glittering, high-tier loot. System notifications confirm their prize, a pile of rare crafting materials. The party breathes a collective sigh of relief, with Mu Shen calmly accepting their thanks. He gives his new recruit a nod of approval before turning his attention to the spoils. Among the loot are rare crimson refined stones, a priceless material for enhancing gear. But their celebration is cut short by a deep, ominous rumbling from the end of the hall. A massive stone gate, previously sealed, begins to grind open before them, the ancient door parts revealing a dark, unknown chamber beyond. A powerful gust of wind rushes out, signaling the end of their trials. A system prompt confirms they've reached the final level, with a very clear warning about showing respect. But Mu Shen's face hardens, knowing this isn't a reward, but the arrival of Apophis. The assassin, completely oblivious, asks if Mu Shen is finally ready to let them help. The assassin nervously admits they'd be completely lost without Mu Shen's guidance. Mu Shen calls for a break, telling the exhausted party to rest and recover their skills. The assassin then orders Ting Xuewan to give Mu Shen a massage, a request that is not well received. Her guildmates immediately leap to her defense, ready to fight the disrespectful recruit. But to everyone's surprise, Ting Xuewan actually complies, enjoying the moment more than she lets on. The warrior and the assassin devolve into a childish chase, their bickering echoing through the hall. With their cooldowns reset, the party steps through a portal to face the final trial. They arrive in a ruined chamber, finding the massive statue from before has completely vanished. Only a shattered pedestal remains, a silent testament to the power that awaits them. The assassin jumps in fear, earning a swift scolding from Mu Shen for his cowardice. Suddenly, a massive demonic claw tears its way out of the ground. The very earth shatters as the unseen beast pulls itself from its prison. It's a colossal black dragon, its shadowy form blotting out the sky. The beast roars to life, a demigod of shadow and lightning. Its stats are a mystery, but its identity is clear: the Temple Master's legendary mount. The dragon demands to know if they serve its master, and the assassin immediately starts sucking up. With tears of blood, it commands them to avenge its fallen master and protect the temple's secrets. It then offers them a baptism, unleashing a torrent of pure, draconic power. The party is infused with its power, receiving a buff so massive the assassin thinks he's a god. He's not. But Mu Shen knows this buff is a double-edged sword in the hands of these rookies. A system message confirms the stakes: stop Apophis, or the entire continent is doomed. Mu Shen steels himself for the fight, knowing his hidden quest allows for zero mistakes. Suddenly, a massive divine sword descends from the heavens above. It slams directly into the dragon's head, a brutal, decisive strike. The holy blade pierces the beast, tearing its shadowy form apart. A barrier of light protects the party as the dragon is obliterated. The great beast is slain, its head crashing to the ground in defeat. Its body dissolves into shadow, its reign of terror seemingly at an end. The party is showered in the aftermath, completely stunned by the sudden turn of events. But from the dragon's remains, the true final boss finally emerges: the destroyer star, Apophis. The party realizes the dragon's final act was to shield them from Apophis's devastating arrival. Empowered by the dragon's buff, his team offers to fight, ready to stand by their leader. Mu Shen is moved, wishing that all of humanity could unite like this when the real end comes. But he ignores their pleas, leaping out of the protective barrier to face the world ender alone. He lands with grim purpose, knowing his flawless, no-damage quest can only be completed solo. The destroyer star Apophis stands revealed, a level 100 boss with stats that are just plain rude. His party collectively panics, realizing they're not even qualified to give this thing a massage. But Ting Xuewan spots a crucial detail: the boss is heavily injured from the dragon's final attack. They also notice a true damage effect, meaning Mu Shen is about to feel 100% of the pain. Apophis senses the death god's power on Mu Shen, who just wants to know why he attracts all the cosmic weirdos. Apophis mocks him, calling humans nothing more than food for the slaughter. But Mu Shen stands defiant, declaring he's more than enough to handle this fight alone. The World Ender dismisses his confidence, raising its massive, crackling blade. It unleashes a torrent of insults as Mu Shen braces for the inevitable clash. Apophis unleashes a devastating shockwave, declaring this is the fate all humans deserve. But Mushen's speed is overwhelming, weaving through the storm of debris with ease. He lands a volley of fireballs, realizing the boss has no elemental resistance. Enraged, Apophis demands he stop running and face it like a true warrior. Mushen scoffs at the idea, deciding to kite the boss using his future knowledge. He prepares a surprise attack, ready to unleash his powerful frost magic. His frost blossom dance erupts, shattering against the boss for thousands of damage. Apophis roars in fury, enraged by the cunning tactics of the human pest. It retaliates with a swirling vortex of red energy, a devastating area of effect attack. His party can only watch in horror, knowing he'll feel every bit of the true damage. A system announcement broadcasts the fight, stunning the entire server with the news. Players across the game complain, unable to believe he's at the final boss already. The announcement becomes a rallying cry, a moment of national pride for his server. At the Wing Kingdom's Research Institute, rival commanders are left in disbelief. The prideful commander has a full-blown meltdown, furious at his own team's failure. But a superior officer sees an opportunity, ordering his team to recruit Mushen at any cost. The Wing Kingdom commander vows that Mushen will serve his nation's ambition. Across the globe, world leaders scramble to recruit him with increasingly desperate offers. Back in the temple, Apophis unleashes a devastating, ground-shattering shockwave. But Mushen knows this attack has a hidden mechanic, a single exploitable weakness. He dives into the water, knowing the shockwave can't penetrate the surface. His party watches from their barrier, anxiously waiting for the devastating attack to end. Ting Zhuowan's guildmate confirms his health bar is still full. He's completely unharmed. He erupts from the water, unleashing his own icy counterattack with perfect timing. The boss is left staggered and vulnerable, a critical opening Mushen is ready to exploit. He calls down a rain of fire, knowing this is his best chance to end the fight. Apophis slams its blade into the ground, unleashing another devastating shockwave. But it follows up with a second sword impact, a move Mushen has never seen before. The unexpected attack sends him flying, questioning if the game's difficulty was secretly buffed. The World Ender dives into the water after him, clearly not a fan of his hit-and-run tactics. Mushen swims for his life, realizing his aquatic safe zone is no longer safe. With his no-damage quest on the line, he holds his breath, both in-game and in his pod. His lungs burn as he pushes past his limits, refusing to give up on his flawless run. He finally bursts from the surface, gasping for air after the terrifying close call. He realizes this new attack pattern is a variable, but it also creates a new opening. Back on solid ground, he immediately unleashes a fiery counterattack of his own. But his attack triggers a lucky equipment effect, blinding the boss for 5 precious seconds. Apophis swings wildly in a rage, its guaranteed miss attacks carving up the landscape. Mushen unleashes everything he has, knowing this 5-second window is a gift from the gods. With the blind effect over, he gives himself a thumbs up, ready to continue his hit-and-run strategy. His party can only watch in awe, with Ting Zhuowan wondering just how far he'll go in the future. She realizes this isn't just a game, but a prelude to something much bigger, and questions her own destiny. Mushen continues his assault, calling down another devastating meteor shower on the World Ender. His team cheers him on from the sidelines, their faith in him now absolute. Enraged, Apophis scoffs at the idea that a mere human could ever hope to defeat it. Its body erupts in a fiery aura as it prepares to unleash its final, most desperate form. Apophis unleashes its ultimate attack, a world-destroying storm of thunder and fire. The entire battlefield is consumed by the cataclysmic swirling vortex of energy. The very ground is vaporized, leaving behind a wasteland of shattered rock and steam. His party can only watch in horror, realizing the attack covers the entire arena. Their protective barrier shatters, and they frantically search for any sign of Mushen. But a quick check of the party screen reveals the impossible. His health is still full. Ting Zhuowan refuses to believe he's gone, certain he somehow dodged the undodgeable. Apophis stands triumphant amidst the carnage, its power seemingly absolute. It scoffs at the foolish humans, revealing its true nature as an alien invader. With the storm finally over, the party stares out, wondering if their leader is truly gone. Apophis curses the fallen dragon, admitting its final sacrifice left him heavily wounded. But a familiar voice cuts through the silence, mocking the so-called alien lord. His party erupts in cheers, spotting their leader emerging from the devastation. And there he is, standing completely unharmed before a stunned Apophis. His team realizes he found the ultimate blind spot, right under the boss's feet. With his doppelganger summoned, Mu Shen prepares for a two-pronged assault. He activates the Grim Reaper's handbone, doubling all his damage for the final push. The two mages unleash a relentless volley, shredding the World Ender's health bar. The final spell connects, and the boss's health bar plummets to 0. With its final breath, Apophis warns that humans don't understand the true rulers of the universe. Mu Shen stands over the fallen god, questioning its right to invade his world. His face twists with contempt as he dismisses the invader as nothing but a joke. With a final decisive strike, he slams his staff down, ending the threat for good. But Apophis's final words echo a chilling promise that they will meet again. The World Ender's body shatters, dissolving into particles of dark energy. A beam of golden light descends, cleansing the battlefield of the darkness. Mu Shen stands alone in the light, a solitary hero against the coming storm. His party is left speechless, with the assassin fanboying and Ting Shui-wan realizing his true potential. The last remnants of Apophis fade away, its reign of terror finally over. And in its place, a mountain of loot appears, a reward fit for a god slayer. Mu Shen auctions off the final set pieces, and the assassin immediately bids 1,000,000 gold. A system message confirms their victory, detailing a flawless, record-breaking dungeon clear. The final scores are in, D ranks for the party, and a perfect SSS for Mu Shen. Guess we know who did all the work. The news goes global, announcing Mu Shen's team has secured the world-first dungeon clear. Players on other servers are wiped out by the very same monsters his team just conquered. The announcement echoes across every server, a testament to his impossible achievement. The world chat explodes into chaos as players scramble to learn the identity of this new legend. Back on his home server, players who mocked him now regret not buying a spot on his team. With the run complete, Mu Shen disbands the party, reminding them to rest up in the real world. Ting Shui-wan gives him a final, lingering look before teleporting away. The scene shifts from the game to the real world, a sprawling capital under the moonlight. In her residence, Ting Shui-wan logs out, the exhaustion of the dungeon run finally hitting her. But her moment of peace is interrupted by the buzzing of her phone. Her group chat is exploding with questions about her connection to the mysterious Mu Shen. She ignores the calls, deciding to let her rivals stew in their own jealousy for a while. Back in the game, Mu Shen lingers, knowing a great power lies hidden beneath the battlefield. A disembodied voice suddenly calls out to him, a presence he doesn't recognize. The spectral form of the Black Dragon appears, a post-dungeon event he never saw in his past life. With its final words, the dragon speaks of its master's fall and a legendary set of armor. It bestows upon him a final gift, a piece of the legendary evil dragon armor. With a final solemn farewell, Mu Shen sends the spirit of the Black Dragon on its journey. He logs out of the game, the echoes of his victory still ringing in his ears. He stretches, knowing this moment of peace is fleeting before the real chaos begins. After a good night's rest, he logs back in, ready to claim his hard-earned rewards. He opens the server-first treasure chest, and the loot is even better than he imagined. But his moment is interrupted by his new recruit, who's apparently become his personal secretary. He ignores the spam, admiring his new purple-tier staff and impressive level 10 stats. Among the spoils is a mysterious map fragment, a new quest he'll have to save for later. Now for the main event, he pulls out the legendary armor piece and a perfect identification scroll. Meanwhile, Ting Shui-wan receives a message from him, looking conflicted about a new offer. On the phone, she reports to her superior, ready to receive her next set of orders. The voice on the other end explains a new mission, one vital to their company's future. Her boss gives the command. She is to join Mu Shen's new guild, Fengshen Valley. He tells her to get close, gain his trust, and use any means necessary to secure his allegiance. Back in the game, she receives Mu Shen's reply, welcoming her but with a clear condition attached. Mu Shen realizes his actions have drawn the attention of the powerful forces behind Ting Shui-wan. He sends a clear warning. His guild will not be a pawn and he will not tolerate betrayal. Ting Shui-wan accepts his terms, promising to contribute and claiming this is her own wish. The assassin immediately loses his mind, so impressed by his boss's charisma that he changes his name. Mu Shen summons his new recruits, and the first official meeting of Fengshen Valley begins. The assassin immediately starts his new job as the guild's hype man, much to Ting Shui-wan's visible discomfort. He even tries to establish a family-style hierarchy, appointing her the third sister of their little group. Mu Shen mercifully cuts him off, redirecting the conversation to their next major decision, choosing a main city. A quick lore drop reveals the game world is a direct reflection of the real one, with cities mirroring real-world borders. Ting Zhiwan suggests a popular city for mages, while the assassin pledges to follow Mu Shen anywhere. But Mu Shen shocks them both by declaring his destination is the infamous Winter City. Ting Zhiwan immediately objects, explaining that Winter City is officially listed as an SSS-level danger zone. She warns that such cities are permanent choices and require a perilous journey just to reach them. Mu Shen just calmly confirms he knows all this, completely unfazed by the supposed risks. As she continues to protest, the assassin notes that her concern for Mu Shen seems surprisingly genuine. Mu Shen dismisses her concerns, explaining that high risk equals high reward, much to her frustration. She finally gives up and leaves, as Mu Shen tasks his new recruit with gathering gear before their journey. The assassin then reports that Mu Shen's fame has led to wild rumors, including accusations of treason. With his business concluded, Mu Shen turns in his final quest to the village chief, earning a perfect SSS rating. As a final reward, the chief gives him a disguising cube, an item Mu Shen knows will be crucial. He accepts the next main quest, officially setting his sights on the legendary and deadly Winter City. With his path set, he reaffirms his vow to make his guild a bastion against the coming apocalypse. He knows his actions have drawn the attention of powerful nations, and he prepares to make his stance clear. In a server-wide broadcast, Mu Shen declares his unwavering loyalty to his own nation, the Ancient Kingdom. His declaration sends ripples not just through the game but across the real world as well. Mu Shen takes a moment to relax, thinking of his parents and the journey to come. A message from his dad confirms they're busy, along with a very generous allowance. He reflects on his past resentment, now understanding the sacrifices they made for him. He scrolls through the game's forums, seeing a thriving economy already taking shape. Mu Shen notes that the game's industry is forming, a playground for the wealthy and the lucky. Elsewhere, another powerful player is also planning her next move in the real world. The mysterious sorceress sips her wine, contemplating her own future in the game. She wonders where to establish herself in this vast, new world. With his breakover, Mu Shen prepares to log back into the world he's sworn to save. His flawless dungeon run pays off, granting him a priceless cross-class skill opportunity. He inspects the purple skill book, a powerful sorcerer's heal he immediately learns. Next, he pulls out the disguising cube, knowing he needs a new identity to stay hidden. The cube activates, and he decides to give himself a bit of an upgrade in the looks department. With a new face, he reintroduces himself to the world, ready for the next chapter. But his moment is interrupted by his ever-enthusiastic assassin recruit. The assassin proudly shows off his new fully enhanced purple set, just as he was told. But he's completely baffled by Mu Shen's new look, failing to recognize his own boss. His confusion turns to awe as he gawks at Mu Shen's legendary armor, feeling suddenly very poor. Mu Shen smugly informs him that this kind of drip is one of a kind. The assassin then realizes every piece is fully enhanced, and his brain promptly short-circuits. The assassin complains about the game's brutal enhancement system, a pain every gamer knows well. Mu Shen dismisses his whining about money and tells him it's time to head for the teleportation array. The assassin reveals his old life was one of boring, mundane wealth before the game gave him purpose. Mu Shen is brought to tears by this tragic tale of hardship before telling his new fanboy to shut up. Their departure is interrupted by Ting Zhiwan, who teleports in to join the party. The assassin immediately tries to bond, pointing out their boss's handsome new disguise. Ting Zhiwan reveals Mu Shen gifted her a powerful set of gear, sealing her place on the team. The assassin is already planning the wedding, impressed by his boss's smooth moves. With Ting Zhiwan officially joining as the team's healer, their three-person guild is finally assembled. The trio joins hands, their perilous journey to the legendary Winter City about to begin. A system message confirms their destination, the SSS-level danger zone, Winter City. With a flash of light, the teleportation is complete, and the trio arrives in a new frozen land. They materialize in the Kunlun Mountains, and the assassin immediately complains about the cold. The game's lore explains this is an ancient battlefield, a place where gods and demons once fell. As the main quest is accepted, Mu Shen marvels at the game's chillingly realistic atmosphere. He then checks his inventory, surprised to find the handbone has unlocked a second mysterious skill. But his excitement dies when he sees the laundry list of rare materials needed to activate it. The assassin's passive skill suddenly triggers, warning them that they're no longer alone. Their welcome party arrives in the form of a massive, snarling snow beast. But before they can even react, the monster is cut down in a single powerful strike from an unseen ally. A new player appears, recognizing Mu Shen's name from the server-wide announcements. The level 14 warrior is unimpressed by their levels and doesn't recognize Mu Shen's new face. He arrogantly assumes he can just tag along, but Mu Shen is not running a charity. The warrior gets aggressive, reminding them that out here he makes all the rules. With a single call, he summons his entire party, surrounding the trio in a show of force. Ting Juan realizes these players skip the dungeon to power level in this dangerous zone. Mu Shen cuts straight to the point, asking if this is just a high-level mugging. The warrior explains his plan. He needs a suicide squad to clear a path for his team. He offers a deal laced with threats, claiming they'll never survive without his help. But his offer comes with a disgusting condition, one that immediately seals his fate. The warrior's party laughs, their lewd comments about Ting Juan echoing across the snow. Mu Shen turns to her, feigning consideration before calmly agreeing to the bully's terms. He then summons a simple fireball, offering the warrior a chance to prove his strength. The party erupts in laughter, urging their boss to accept the pathetic challenge. The warrior scoffs, boasting that 100 fireballs couldn't even scratch him. The spell connects, dealing a critical hit that shatters his health bar and his ego. He's instantly vaporized, his soul comically flying out of his boots in disbelief. His followers are left speechless, unable to comprehend how their boss was just one-shotted. Mu Shen calmly considers the game's PK penalty, deciding it's a price he's willing to pay. The warrior respawns in a rage, screaming that Mu Shen must be cheating and vowing revenge. The warrior has the horrifying realization that he's respawned right next to his killer. So Mu Shen does the only logical thing and sends him right back to the respawn screen. His followers try to rally, foolishly believing that numbers will save them from the same fate. But Mu Shen is done with the small talk and unleashes his Frost Blossom dance. The spell erupts in a wave of ice, shattering the entire party in a single decisive blow. The warrior respawns again, this time trembling as Mu Shen offers him a third trip to the void. His entire party is trapped in a respawn loop, their bravado completely frozen over. Their spirits are sent flying again and again, a hilarious cycle of death and rebirth. Finally broken, the warrior and his men beg for mercy, their levels dropping with every death. Onlookers watch the public humiliation, glad to see the notorious bully finally get his due. Mu Shen calmly asks if the bully's tough talk was just for show. The man explains they were forced into this, abandoned by a leader who took all the female players. The assassin notes the distinct lack of women, as Mu Shen asks for a full intelligence briefing. The assassin enforces proper groveling etiquette as the man reveals his group is one of the last survivors. Mu Shen agrees to lead them through the treacherous path, but only if he's given full command. With his new army in tow, Mu Shen leads them deeper into the mountains, towards a dangerous new zone. His new subordinate explains the pythons wiped them out before, secretly hoping to see Mu Shen fail. He addresses the skeptical new recruits, promising safe passage if they follow his rules. But his conditions are brutal. Absolute obedience, no dying, and no running away seems reasonable. He then dangles the ultimate carrot, a spot in his guild complete with buffs, gear, and a salary. He then dangles another perk, access to Ting Juan and her guild's social circle. The new recruits are instantly sold, their loyalty now fueled by the promise of pretty girls. With morale secured, Mu Shen organizes his new army and leads them into the Snowfox region. They march through a desolate canyon, where shed snakeskins serve as a grim welcome mat. His new subordinate suddenly calls a halt, warning of the camouflaged pythons that wiped out his last team. Mu Shen calmly orders his mages to bombard the seemingly empty path ahead. Trusting their new leader, the mages unleash a volley of fire onto the pristine snow. The explosions reveal the hidden threat, a horde of snow pythons, their ice armor making them tough to damage. Mu Shen orders the archers to fire explosive arrows, slowing the pythons' advance. With the enemy revealed and suppressed, he commands a full-scale, coordinated assault. The combined assault turns the canyon into a fiery inferno, shredding the pythons' health. Under the relentless barrage, the pythons' formidable ice armor begins to crack and shatter. With their defenses broken, Mu Shen orders the warriors to charge in and clean up the now vulnerable mobs. The assassin praises his boss's tactics, realizing he was placed perfectly to secure the final kills. With the path cleared, the entire army erupts in cheers, their loyalty to their new captain now absolute. Mu Shen dismisses his new troops for the day, telling them to log off and be ready for tomorrow's push. The former bully sheepishly asks about a +9 belt he dropped, which Mu Shen forgot to pick up for him. But his day is interrupted by a horned warrior who asks for help finding her husband, lost to the Snow Python King. Mu Shen immediately recognizes this as the trigger for a hidden quest, knowing he has to play along carefully. He weighs his options, realizing he can't seem too eager, or the NPC will get suspicious and lock the quest line. He plays the part of a weak mage, feigning hesitation as she offers her greatest treasure. She offers him a scroll, but he plays the hero, claiming it's his duty to fight evil. The scroll is a red tier map, a prize he accepts before asking for the monster's location. She points them towards a distant peak, their destination set against the howling wind. They arrive at a massive cavern, where a single glowing sword is embedded in the ice. The warrior recognizes it as the legendary Sword of the Sun, a grim omen for her husband's fate. He tries to offer some comfort, but a sudden tremor cuts their conversation short. The warrior screams a warning as a new threat emerges from the snow behind them. A colossal tail of ice crashes down, forcing the pair to dive for their lives. The level 20 Snow Python King reveals itself, a true elite monster ready for a fight. With a furious roar, the horned warrior leaps into battle, ready to avenge her fallen husband. She charges the colossal beast, her twin blades glowing as she demands justice. But the Python King retaliates, spitting a smaller, cursed serpent from its maw. The warrior skillfully parries the projectile, sending it careening off her blade. But the cursed serpent homes in on Mu Shen, who calmly prepares a counterattack. He unleashes a volley of fireballs, peppering the monster's face with a series of small but steady hits. Mu Shen recalls the strategy. Its ice armor is nearly impenetrable, but its mouth is the key. The beast unleashes a frost mist, instantly freezing our hero solid in his tracks. But the warrior leaps to his defense, blocking a fatal blow just in the nick of time. Freed from the ice, Mu Shen thanks her and prepares to exploit the opening she's created. He realizes the monster has locked onto him, its smaller serpent ready to strike. But Mu Shen has an ace up his sleeve, activating the Grim Reaper's handbone to double his damage. He unleashes a powered-up fireball, aiming for the beast's only known weak point. The internal explosion shatters its ice armor, leaving the beast completely exposed. With its defenses down, he calls down a devastating rain of fire, shredding its health bar. The horned warrior seizes the opportunity, leaping in to avenge her fallen husband. She lands squarely on its head, plunging her blade deep into the monster's eye. The beast thrashes in agony, its final moments filled with pain and fury. Its colossal body crashes into the snow, the great Snow Python King finally slain. With the battle won, the two heroes stand over their prize, a moment of peace in the falling snow. But her quest isn't over, she still hasn't found her husband. With a furious cry, she plunges her blade into the beast's corpse. She carves through the monster's flesh, searching for what it consumed. Her eyes widen as she finally finds what she was looking for. She pulls a tattered arm from the remains, whispering her husband's name. Kneeling in the snow, she speaks of a love that transcends even death. Mu Shen reflects on the tragedy, knowing this story has no happy ending. The warrior thanks him for his help, making one final request. She asks only to be buried with her husband in a place with a view. Mu Shen is moved, witnessing the tragic end he already knew was coming. He honors her final wish, creating a grave for the lovers on the mountaintop. As he walks away, the system rewards his compassion with a massive haul of loot. The rewards are two powerful single-use scrolls, each containing a legendary attack. He logs out of the game, vowing to put their powerful legacy to good use. Back in the real world, his moment of peace is interrupted by an unknown caller. The voice on the other end represents his nation, ready to reward his loyalty. He's not surprised they found him, but he is surprised by the 30 million reward. The caller then brings up Ting Sui Wan, offering to remove her if he's dissatisfied. But her real name, Jiang Wan, strikes a chord deep within his memory. He's thrown back to the apocalypse, to the day a healer with that name saved his life. The memory hits him like a tidal wave, a vision from his past life on the brink of death. A hand glowing with healing energy presses against his chest, a desperate last resort. Through the haze of pain, he recognizes the face of the woman who saved him. It was Jiang Wan, who gently told him to rest, her spell pulling him back from the void. He could barely thank her before she was called away, another battle raging outside. With a final blessing, she left, an angelic figure in a world of chaos. Back in the present, Mu Shen realizes he's been acting like a complete fool in front of his savior. He makes a solemn vow. In this life, he will be the one to protect her from the coming apocalypse. With his resolve hardened, he logs back into the game, materializing in the frozen mountains. He looks around the empty landscape, wondering if his new recruits understand the concept of punctuality. He checks his friends list only to find his assassin recruit is the only one online. His chat is immediately flooded with frantic messages from his new subordinate. The assassin explains their army was ambushed, and dropping Mu Shen's name wasn't the magic password he thought it was. Mu Shen wonders who would be foolish enough to ignore his reputation and attack his forces directly. The culprit is revealed, the Madman Guild, led by a very familiar, very persistent bully. His new army is being camped at the respawn point, losing gear and morale with every death. Ting Xuan logs in just as Mu Shen vows to personally dismantle his old rival's guild. She asks what's wrong, and without hesitation offers to join him in the coming battle. Meanwhile, at the respawn point, the Madman Guild captures one of Mu Shen's men trying to send a warning. Madman War God gloats as his guild humiliates Mu Shen's kneeling, defeated followers. The Madman Guild beats down the defiant soldier, who vows his boss will make them pay. Madman War God tries to force him to publicly humiliate Mu Shen in exchange for his life. From a distance, Ting Xuan wants to charge in, but Mu Shen holds her back, planning his move. His face twists with cold fury, promising a lesson they will never forget. He opens the game's cash shop, purchasing a special item to ensure no one can escape. Mu Shen joins the party chat, giving his new army a simple, devastating battle plan. He then uses the legendary scroll, learning a powerful new red-tier fire spell. The pair finally arrives, and Madman War God mocks Mu Shen for finally showing his face. The bully boasts about his higher level, completely unaware of the storm he's just summoned. Mu Shen just smirks, a familiar glint of contempt in his eyes for his old rival. But Madman War God isn't alone. He's brought the guild's vice president, a famed warrior from Mu Shen's past. The bully continues his taunts, daring Mu Shen to face him without logging off, but Mu Shen cuts him off, planting a dual flag in the snow and issuing a formal challenge. As the challenge is made, his assassin recruit quietly fades into the shadows. Madman War God is stunned by the move, confirming with his VP that no other players are nearby. He accepts the duel, vowing to strip Mu Shen of his gear within the 2-hour time limit. But the guild's internal politics are a mess, as the VP openly disrespects his leader's commands. The War Emperor approaches Mu Shen, clarifying that this petty squabble is not his fight. He offers to stay out of the current conflict, but he has one condition. He wants a real fight, a life-or-death duel with Mu Shen after the warm-up is over. Ting Xuan explains the brutal stakes of a life-and-death order, a full character wipe for the loser. Mu Shen understands the War Emperor is testing him and confidently accepts the challenge. The War Emperor respects his courage but promises to show no mercy in their coming duel. The two guilds face off, a full-scale war about to erupt across the frozen plains. With a furious cry, the Madman Guild charges, unleashing a volley of spells and arrows. Mu Shen's army meets their assault head-on, unleashing a counter-barrage of their own. The spells collide in a massive explosion as his front line braces for the fiery impact. His ranged units prepare another attack, firing from the safety of the back line. Madman War God leads the charge himself, aiming to shatter their defensive formation. He leaps at Mu Shen, certain his 3-level advantage makes this a fair fight. But Mu Shen ignores him, charging past the front line with impossible speed. He becomes a phantom, weaving through their ranks as they struggle to even track him. He unleashes a storm of fire from within their formation, sowing chaos and confusion. The Madman Guild's healers scramble to keep their front line alive, but their support is cut short as the assassin emerges from the shadows, striking them down. Madman War God screams in rage as his entire backline is thrown into disarray. From a distance, Mu Shen calmly orchestrates the battle, issuing precise commands to his forces. Frustrated, the bully abandons the front line, ordering his warriors to fall back and regroup. But it's a trap, as a devastating rain of fire descends upon his retreating army. Mu Shen watches his rival's forces burn, admitting he's quite satisfied with the results. Madman War God rallies his remaining forces, certain that numbers will overwhelm the lone mage. But Mu Shen pulls out a legendary scroll, deciding this fight needs a more personal touch. He activates the skill, summoning twin blades and gaining a massive physical stat boost. The enemy guild is stunned by his new form, but their leader orders a desperate final charge. Their attacks connect, but each blow deals a pathetic single point of damage. Mu Shen taunts their weakness before unleashing a powerful, icy counterattack of his own. The blast flash freezes Madman War God, who can only scream as his defeat is sealed. His followers panic, ordering a ranged assault to slowly chip away at his health. But the volley is useless, and Mu Shen charges through the storm of spells unharmed. He unleashes a whirlwind of slashes, a beautiful dance of death that cuts through their ranks. He reflects on his new power but notes the cost. Half his health is gone. but a wave of healing energy washes over him, a timely assist from Ting Wan. She insists on healing him first, calling him the team's most valuable player. Mu Shen is stunned by her selflessness, a stark contrast to his own past actions. But her act of kindness is punished as Madman War God respawns and strikes her down. The bully gloats, certain that without his healer, Mu Shen is as good as dead. A cold, murderous rage ignites in Mu Shen's eyes. They've just crossed a line. The battlefield seems to tremble as his power surges, ready to be unleashed. He leaps into the air, meeting their volley of attacks with a taunt of his own. With his health still low, he decides it's time to stop holding back and use a scroll he'd been saving. He unleashes the full power of the scroll, a devastating attack called Scorching Sunbreak. The spell forms a colossal blade of pure fire, ready to cleave the battlefield in two. It carves a path of destruction through the Madman Guild, sending them flying. The explosion obliterates the entire army, their spirits torn from their bodies in the blast. Only the War Emperor remains standing, completely stunned by the sheer devastation. He looks at the field of bodies, wondering if a mere player could wield such godlike power. His expression hardens, realizing his life-or-death duel just got a lot more interesting. The consequences of this defeat bleed into the real world, where tempers are flaring. Madman War God is berated by his boss for losing 1,000 of their elite members. His boss is furious, demanding to know how he lost everything to a level 13 mage. Madman War. God begs his furious boss for another chance, his promises now worthless. But an aide tells him to silence the failure and focus on the War Emperor's pending duel. The man in question, He Tian, the Madman Emperor, sits alone in his pod. Back on the battlefield, he admits he underestimated Mu Shen's power. Mu Shen recalls the man's reputation as a lone ranger who always has a hidden ace. The War Emperor reveals his boss ordered him to back down, but the risk is too tempting. Mu Shen calmly asks what the warrior plans to do. He remembers the legend of the War Emperor from his past life, a man who once destroyed a guild alone. Mu Shen knows this opponent is stubborn and will be difficult to handle. In the real world, the guild's backer forbids the duel, but He Tian won't be controlled. He Tian clenches his fist, his desire for a true battle overriding all else. His backer can only watch in fury as the warrior defies his direct orders. For He Tian, this isn't about the guild, it's a personal challenge he must win. He declares he'll fight to the end, demanding Mu Shen use his full power. With the life and death order planted, the duel officially begins. The War Emperor wastes no time, leaping forward with electrifying speed. He unleashes his signature skill, a devastating attack called Mountain Collapse. The sheer force of the blow stuns the onlookers, far beyond a normal warrior's power. From the sidelines, the newly respawned Madman War God mocks their ignorance. But Ting Wan's team is unimpressed, reminding him he's still the one who died. Madman War God continues his trash talk, trying to get under Ting Wan's skin. Her teammates bicker, but Ting Wan's faith in Mu Shen is unwavering. On the battlefield, the War Emperor's eyes glow, his power surging for the real fight. Mu Shen realizes the warrior's attack is enhanced, barely dodging a blow that could have ended him. The War Emperor closes the distance, a blur of purple energy against the snow. But Mu Shen grips his staff, deciding it's time to turn up the heat. He unleashes a torrent of fire, meeting the warrior's challenge head-on. The War Emperor stands his ground, his own aura pushing back against the inferno. A massive wave of fire rushes forward, threatening to consume him completely. But he summons a powerful shield, ready to weather the fiery storm. The War Emperor is engulfed in the fiery vortex, his shield the only thing standing. The flames chip away at his health, slowing him down as his defenses begin to crack. But he erupts from the inferno, his glowing blade ready to strike back. He unleashes a devastating heavy sword attack, a torrent of pure energy. Mu Shen dodges, stunned that the warrior can use ground skills in midair to counter his debuffs. Our boy complains that even being reborn doesn't grant him these kinds of game-breaking perks. The warrior's blade connects for a massive critical hit, taking a huge chunk of Mu Shen's health. Mu Shen is sent flying, completely shocked that the warrior could land such a blow. But he activates his cross-class warlock skill, instantly restoring half his health. A healer and a DPS? Talk about overpowered. Realizing a passive skill saved him from a one-shot, he unleashes his own enhanced frost spell in return. But the War Emperor shatters the ice with a single, powerful swing of his blade. He's stunned by Mu Shen's speed and defense, realizing it's time to use his hidden ace. A dark crimson energy surrounds him, granting him immunity to all debuffs. He activates his ultimate skill, the Blood Sacrifice Rampage Armor, a state of pure invincibility. Mu Shen panics, recognizing a skill so powerful it must be a cheat from another reborn player. With his power fully unleashed, the War Emperor declares this is the end of the line for Mu Shen. He closes the distance in an instant, landing a devastating blow that nearly ends the fight. The impact tears through the battlefield, a shockwave that shatters the very ground. Mu Shen barely survives, complaining that his fresh heal was almost completely wasted. Standing over his fallen opponent, the War Emperor declares his victory is sealed. Mu Shen's guild tries to rush to his aid, but the War Emperor warns them to stay back. Meanwhile, Madman War God rallies his own troops, demanding Mu Shen's head on a platter. The War Emperor's blade finally connects, a devastating blow that sends Mu Shen reeling. The attack slams into the ground, shattering the ice in a cataclysmic explosion. The Madman Guild erupts in cheers, convinced their leader has finally crushed the upstart hero. Even Ting Xuewan and her allies can only watch in despair, believing the fight is truly over. Madman War God turns to Mu Shen's followers, demanding they surrender all their gear or be hunted down. He then adds a disgusting condition, offering to spare them if Ting Xuewan submits to him. Real classy. The assassin is ready to throw hands, but Ting Xuewan holds him back, her expression cold. But their argument is cut short as a mysterious, powerful blade materializes from thin air. The blade impales Madman War God, who can only stare in disbelief as his health hits zero. A familiar silhouette emerges from the smoke, calmly asking what all the fuss was about. The War Emperor is completely stunned, unable to believe that Mu Shen is still standing. But Mu Shen is very much alive, dismissing his opponent's ultimate attack as nothing but trash. His guild erupts in cheers as the system confirms Mu Shen's victory in the life-or-death duel. The remaining Madman Guild members immediately log off, a tactical retreat that looks a lot like cowardice. Even Ting Xuewan is left wondering how he pulled off a win when he was on the brink of death. Meanwhile, the War Emperor respawns, his character wiped and his pride completely shattered. He can only lie there in disbelief, forced to accept his utter and complete defeat. A flashback reveals the truth. His final, devastating attack had missed its target completely. The War Emperor's blade finds its mark, and for a moment he believes it's finally over. But the figure shatters into light. He's only struck a magical afterimage. The real Mu Shen appears behind him, explaining he used a clone to dodge the fatal blow. The clone then grabs the warrior's legs, trapping him in a powerful freeze spell. With his opponent immobilized, Mu Shen unleashes one final devastating fireball. The War Emperor logs out, tallying the catastrophic cost of his defeat. Back at the respawn point, he can only sit in silence, his pride completely shattered. Mu Shen appears before him, declaring their guilds are now irreconcilable enemies. The warrior accepts his fate, but Mu Shen respects his courage, summoning one last spell. He unleashes the fiery blast, a final decisive end to their brutal duel. But instead of a killing blow, Mu Shen offers one last, non-lethal fireball. The spell connects for 0 damage, leaving the warrior wondering what this mercy is for. Mu Shen explains he sees a true friend in the warrior and offers to sell his gear back. With the deal done, he hopes their next meeting will be as rivals, not enemies. His team questions the move, but Mu Shen is already planning his next power play. He knows a player like the War Emperor is a priceless asset, a key to hidden quests. The assassin eagerly volunteers for the new team, only to be told his class is disposable. After some very dramatic groveling, Mu Shen agrees to let his #1 fanboy tag along. Ting Xuewan realizes the choice now lies with the defeated warrior, guild loyalty or a new path. And right on cue, a friend request confirms the warrior has made his decision. The War Emperor thanks Mu Shen for the gear, vowing to repay the favor and defeat him one day. But Mu Shen dangles the ultimate bait, a hidden dungeon run with his guild tomorrow. In the real world, the warrior's former boss berates him for his disloyalty. Mu Shen considers his next move, his focus already shifting from the duel to the future. The War Emperor immediately floods his chat, begging for details on the hidden dungeon. The warrior hesitates, his pride warring with his insatiable hunger for rare content. But Mu Shen knows exactly which buttons to push, promising more quests and the end of his rival. Mu Shen recalls the warrior's obsession from his past life, knowing this proud player needs a lesson in humility. His condition is simple yet utterly humiliating. Call him Big Brother. But in the end, the lure of hidden quests is just too strong. Pride, it seems, has a price. Mu Shen assures him it's a secret as the warrior laments his humiliating defeat. The scene then shifts from the game to the real world, a team trekking through snow. In the Kunlun Mountains, an expedition makes a world-changing discovery. A place of myth and legend, its deepest secrets are finally being unearthed. They stand in awe before a colossal ice phoenix, impaled by a massive spear. One of the explorers, Tianyang, complains about his son wasting time on a game. But his colleague reveals it was that very game that led them to this discovery. With their path revealed, the team prepares to descend into the unknown chasm. Back in the game, Mushen leads his new army to the next stage of their journey. They arrive at a glacial rift, where a flimsy bridge hangs over a deadly, freezing abyss. Their advance is halted by a faint, desperate cry for help from the chasm below. The assassin spots a player drowning in the snow, immediately thinking he's stumbled upon a hidden quest. Convinced it's a helpless NPC, he eagerly rushes forward to trigger the mission. Someone's a little too keen. But Mu Shen's eyes widen in horror. He knows this is a trap and screams for his foolish recruit to stop. The drowning man's face begins to swell and distort, his cries turning into gurgles. His body erupts into a grotesque, multi-mouthed worm, a living nightmare of flesh and teeth. The creature lunges, but Mu Shen appears in a flash, shoving his stunned recruit to safety. He drags the monster and its victim away, warning that a single bite is an instant kill. The creature burrows back into the snow and vanishes, leaving the assassin wondering what they just fought. Mu Shen explains the grim reality. It was a real player used as bait by a new, horrifying predator. His new army panics as the snow begins to move, fearing the return of the horrifying worm. But a new threat emerges. A horde of phantom snow foxes, elite monsters born from the souls of the slain. The players form a defensive circle, completely surrounded and overwhelmed by the sheer number of enemies. But Mu Shen calmly explains their weakness, a predictable attack pattern he's ready to exploit. He demonstrates his theory, timing a fireball to intercept a fox's telegraphed lunge. The spell connects for a massive critical hit, obliterating the creature in a fiery explosion. Following his lead, the warriors form a shield wall as ranged attackers fire through the gaps. The players cheer, realizing the foxes are just running headfirst into a wall of death. Mu Shen orders them to keep fighting while advancing, pushing their formation towards the bridge. He lays out a precise crossing strategy, ensuring his new army makes it to the next checkpoint safely. The first wave of players scrambles across the flimsy bridge, urged on by their comrades. Mu Shen holds the rear, unleashing a final volley of fire to cover their retreat. Safely across, the new recruits cheer, grateful for the leader who saved them from certain death. As the last man to cross, Mu Shen notes his new army's surprising agility. But his advance is cut short as a new threat appears on the horizon. His face twists in horror. He realizes the monster is targeting the bridge itself. The grotesque worm from before emerges, ready to finish what the foxes started. It launches a massive shard of ice, a deadly projectile aimed at the crossing. The bridge shatters, sending his remaining men plummeting into the icy abyss below. Caught in the collapse, Mu Shen struggles to hold on as his army watches in terror. Mu Shen struggles for purchase, knowing he can't get caught on this collapsing bridge. From the other side, his army screams a desperate warning of the danger behind him. The grotesque worm emerges again, brandishing another massive shard of ice. He realizes the monster's goal is to keep him trapped here, a sitting duck. Refusing to surrender, he launches a fiery counterattack even as he falls. But the ice shard shatters his spell, the explosion sending him reeling. His entire army can only watch in horror, screaming for their leader not to fall. With a desperate move, he hooks his staff onto a rope, saving himself from the abyss. But he's still trapped, dangling helplessly over the chasm. So much for a flawless crossing. His army panics, realizing they're too far away to help as the monster charges once more. His army panics, realizing they need to find a way back across to help him. But the grotesque worm crawls down the rope, its true, horrifying form finally revealed. Its stats are unknown, but its description is a nightmare. A parasitic flesh that consumes its victims. He sees the undigested hand of the player from before, realizing this monster prevents respawns. His army knows if that thing crosses the chasm, they are all doomed. So Mu Shen makes a desperate call, ordering them to cut the rope. But they refuse, unwilling to sacrifice the leader who just saved them. With the monster closing in, he realizes he'll have to do it himself. He summons a fireball, aiming it at the very rope keeping him alive. The rope snaps, sending both him and the monster plummeting into the abyss. His army screams his title, watching helplessly as the rope disappears into the chasm. Mu Shen plummets into the abyss, the howling wind his only companion on the way down. He struggles against the fall, his body battered by the sheer force of the icy gale. The extreme cold instantly freezes his fingers to the rope, trapping him completely. He realizes he's now just a meal, dangling helplessly above the waiting monster. His followers can only watch in despair, convinced their leader is gone for good. Paralyzed by the cold, he faces a simple choice: freeze to death or be eaten alive. As the monster opens its maw, he considers just starting over. What an undignified end. But a sudden, powerful updraft erupts from the chasm's depths, catching him in its wake. The force of the wind sends him flying, saved by a completely unknown power. His army can only stare in awe as a massive ethereal figure erupts from the chasm. The updraft was the cry of a legendary ice phoenix, a sight few players ever get to see. A system message confirms their luck, granting the entire army a massive potential point bonus. Dangling from the rope, Mu Shen also witnesses the rare phenomenon, a shadow of the great beast. But he notices the grotesque worm is frozen, a strange crystal now embedded in its flesh. He recognizes the Ice Phoenix Spirit Crystal, a legendary item that a traitor used against his nation in his past life. The system offers him a choice: take the crystal, but release the seal on the monster. He weighs his options, realizing this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity is not to be missed. With his hands finally free, he yanks the crystal from the monster's flesh, breaking the seal. Wasting no time, he unleashes a point-blank fireball, striking first while the monster is still stunned. But the monster retaliates, its grotesque body ensnaring the rope. It begins to climb with horrifying speed, its maw ready to devour him. Above, his army realizes he's still alive and decides to pull him to safety. With a desperate heave, his new followers begin to haul the rope up. The assassin spots him, immediately ordering a ranged assault on the monster below. Without hesitation, the entire army prepares to unleash a volley of fire. Explosive arrows rain down, slowing the creature's relentless advance. Mu Shen is pulled to safety, but his first command is to cut the rope. Guess he's not a fan of clingy monsters. His loyal subordinate obeys instantly, bringing his massive blade down. The rope snaps, sending the burning monstrosity back into the icy abyss. But the monster isn't dead, leaping back from the abyss with terrifying speed. Mu Shen and his doppelganger unleash a coordinated magical assault to stop it. Their spells connect, sending the creature hissing back into the chasm below. This time, the fall seems final as the monster is sent back to the abyss. His team rushes to his side, asking what that horrifying creature even was. Mu Shen explains it's a piece of an evil demon, a sign of the war to come. The scene shifts to the real world, where the expedition team is still stranded. But a new horror appears as an ancient, extinct centipede attacks one of the men. They quickly learn its weakness is fire, a resource they don't have in the frozen cave. The old man makes a desperate call, ordering them to burn his leg to save his life. Water is poured on the wound, but the strange creatures only hiss in defiance. Tianyang makes a desperate call, ordering his team to burn the creature off his leg. With a heavy heart, his subordinate obeys, engulfing the parasite in flames. The old man grits his teeth, enduring the searing pain to save his own life. But the burning creature detaches, launching itself at another member of the team. The man with glasses bravely intercepts the projectile with his bare hand. He deflects the creature, his hand scorched as his colleague cries out a warning. With quick thinking, he traps the horrifying parasite inside a metal pot. Relieved, the team wonders if they've stumbled upon something best left undisturbed. As the pot rattles, they realize the myths of this place are far more real than they ever imagined. Tianyang reveals the centipede wasn't the only horror they found in the passage. He orders his team to regroup and wait for rescue, their exploration now on hold. 2 members brave the blizzard, heading back to the relative safety of their camp. But they stop in their tracks, realizing the colossal Ice Phoenix statue has somehow moved. Back in the game, Mu Shen and his new army take a well-deserved break on Phoenix Cry Road. He gives them a new task: collect flowers because even Godslayers need a hobby. Ting Xuan accepts her new role as statistician as Mu Shen asks for her contact info. He reflects on his past life, finally meeting his savior Jiang Wan face to face. With his resolve hardened, he looks her in the eyes and tells her he trusts her completely. A genuine smile crosses her face as she thanks him, a new alliance finally forged. The scene shifts to the real world, where a massive esports tournament is underway. In the crowd, a young man confidently predicts the outcome, earning a jab from a nearby spectator. On stage, the archer Yue Mo uses a blink skill, effortlessly dodging a powerful attack. She immediately prepares a powerful counterattack, her glowing arrow ready to fly. The single shot becomes a devastating rain of light, overwhelming her opponent for the win. The girl is impressed by his accurate prediction, and he breaks down the archer's strategy like a pro. The winner is announced as Yue Mo, a level 15 ranger from the top-tier Lost Memories City Guild. A woman then calls the girl Luo Jiusi to the stage, scolding her for being a low-level socialite. She then confronts the pair, insulting the young man and demanding Luo Jiusi fight or admit defeat. The ultimatum is clear: fight or be publicly shamed and kicked out of Lost Memories City. With the crowd roaring for a fight, Luo Jiusi accepts, vowing to lose with dignity. But her bravado fades as she begs the young man to coach her, just so she isn't completely humiliated. He considers the massive level gap before agreeing to help her out. This one time. She logs into the game, materializing as a level 12 mage, ready for her public execution. The young man, revealed to be Mu Shen, is horrified by her tank build and fashion-over-function gear. With the players in their pods, the battle begins on the massive tournament screen. From a private box, two executives watch, noting Momo's clear jealousy over Juicy. The president, Qin Lang, seems intrigued by the girl despite his aide's warnings. In the arena, the archer Yue Mo wastes no time, landing the first hit on the panicked mage. Mu Shen screams at her for just standing there, but she admits she was waiting for his instructions. Yue Mo unleashes a volley of 3 powerful arrows as Mu Shen orders Juicy to use her shield. Following his command, she summons a magical barrier, bracing for the inevitable impact. The shield shatters under the force, but it absorbs the worst of the blow. But the archer is already preparing a new, far more devastating attack. Mu Shen knows dodging is impossible and gives her a precise countdown to counter. Right on his command, Luo Juicy unleashes a massive fireball of her own. The crowd is stunned by the timing, realizing she attacked during the archer's cooldown. Her spell connects for a massive critical hit, engulfing Yue Mo in flames. Enraged, the archer begins charging her ultimate skill, a powerful thunder arrow. The crowd recognizes the purple tier ability, certain the match is now over. Mu Shen dismisses her satisfaction, demanding she execute an extreme high-risk maneuver. Following his command, she summons a wall of jagged ice, completely obscuring her from view. The archer's ultimate skill is interrupted, her targeting system failing as the ice blocks her line of sight. As Yue Mo repositions, Mu Shen gives another precise command to keep Juicy perfectly hidden. The crowd is stunned by the simple yet brilliant tactic, and her rival suspects she's being coached. Yue Mo taunts her for hiding, but Juicy's confidence is now absolute, ready for the final move. With perfect timing, Mu Shen gives the final command to unleash her counterattack. As the ice shatters, she unleashes a blinding beam of light, striking the archer head-on. The crowd erupts, some mocking the archer while others praise the mage's flawless timing. Though blinded, Yue Mo keeps her ultimate charged as Mu Shen orders another relentless assault. Juicy unleashes a relentless volley of fireballs, forcing the archer into a corner. Mu Shen warns her the blind effect is ending, telling her to bet it all on a lucky shot. But the archer's ultimate finally connects, a devastating blow that seems to end the match. Mu Shen orders her to keep attacking, even with 0 mana, until she's completely down. The crowd praises her tenacity, but just as they declare her defeated, a lucky skill triggers. A massive rain of fire descends, a lucky proc that engulfs the unsuspecting archer. Yue Mo celebrates her victory, mocking the mage who almost earned her respect. But the crowd points in shock. The battle isn't over just yet. The skill has triggered a second time, and Yue Mo can only stare in disbelief. Her eyes widen in horror as she realizes she's about to be defeated by pure dumb luck. The second lucky proc engulfs the archer in a massive, fiery explosion. The announcer declares the match a draw, a stunning upset for the tournament. But the crowd roars, pointing out that the fight isn't over just yet. Another lucky effect triggers, leaving Juicy alive with a single point of health. Talk about plot armor. With her opponent down, Luo Juicy is declared the winner by a miracle of pure luck. Her rival can only watch in disbelief as Juicy celebrates her impossible victory. But her celebration is cut short as she searches for the mysterious coach who helped her. A message arrives from Mu Shen, congratulating her before vanishing without a trace. Back in the real world, Mu Shen tries to call his parents, who are off on another research trip. He then checks his messages, seeing a late-night report from Ting Shui Wan on their guild's progress. Mu Shen logs back in, ready to lead his newly formed army on their next mission. He inspects his prize from the chasm, the legendary Ice Phoenix Spirit Crystal. He knows the crystal's power was worth the risk, but now it's time to build his guild. With a few clicks, he promotes Ting Shui Wan and the assassin to vice presidents. The assassin is thrilled as Mu Shen notes that a walking wallet makes for a great VP. Just then, a familiar, heavily armored figure approaches the group. It's the War Emperor, now free from the Madman Guild and looking for a new path. A system message confirms the impossible. His former rival has just joined the guild. Mu Shen welcomes him aboard, but makes it clear there's no turning back now. With his new powerhouse team assembled, Mu Shen leads them to their next target. Mu Shen briefs his new army, warning them of a dangerous hidden dungeon ahead. Ting Xuan listens, wondering if his mysterious friend is a source of intel. But the assassin's attention is drawn to a strange, spectral figure praying nearby. He foolishly reaches out, asking the ghostly figure what it's looking at. The figure shatters on contact, and the assassin's health plummets from a sudden curse. Mu Shen calmly shoves a flower in his mouth, the only known cure for the affliction. With the curse lifted, Mu Shen warns his army not to touch anything without his permission. They proceed down a path lined with the wailing spirits of those who fell before them. Even the War Emperor is impressed as the assassin asks what these spirits truly are. Mu Shen explains they are merely shells, the soulless husks of former players. But one of the new recruits suddenly shatters, his screams echoing through the passage. Mu Shen gives the order to begin as Ting Xuan prepares a counterspell. A powerful skill called Soul Imprisonment traps another player who is told to eat the flowers. With the curse lifted, the assassin demands to know why his teammate freaked out. Mu Shen explains it's a hallucination, ordering everyone to use the flowers as an antidote. His army reluctantly follows orders, complaining about the flowers' unique flavor. Their path opens up into a massive frozen basin, a new stage for their trial. They stare in awe at a colossal coliseum filled with a sea of kneeling spirits. Mu Shen's only command is to walk through it, a simple task that feels anything but. The new recruits shiver as they pass through the silent, unsettling crowd of the dead. A sudden wind sweeps through the coliseum, and the frozen spirits begin to dissolve into dust. The particles blow into the faces of the army, who recoil in disgust from the gruesome remains. The swirling dust is drawn towards a massive crystalline altar at the center of the basin. A massive spectral figure materializes, welcoming the first living souls to arrive in ages. It notes the scent of the purification flowers and invites them to enter its long-abandoned domain. A system prompt offers them a new quest: uncover the secret of the shells within the altar. Mu Shen and the War Emperor rally the troops, ordering them to accept the mission and enter. The entire army is enveloped in a brilliant light, teleported into the heart of the trial. But Ting Xuan cries out a warning, pointing to the soulless figures they just passed. The entire army of shells has risen to its feet, and this time it's definitely not a hallucination. The new recruits panic, realizing they're hopelessly outnumbered by the soulless horde. Their debate is cut short as the entire altar begins to sink into the abyss. The platform descends, carrying the entire army into the darkness below. A system message welcomes them to the Snow Forest altar, the birthplace of the demon god. Well, this trip just got a whole lot worse. The lore continues, revealing these shells are the failed results of a bloody experiment. Mu Shen immediately takes command, ordering his forces into a tight defensive formation. They advance down a dark corridor lined with what look like prison cells. The assassin gets a bad feeling, comparing the place to a sinister biological research lab. Mu Shen silences him, his expression grim as he considers the implications. He explains that if these are the failures, a far more dangerous finished product must be lurking nearby. A faint sound echoes from the darkness, drawing their attention down the long corridor. Suddenly, a monstrous hand slams down, its claws digging into the stone floor. The backbone beast emerges, a failed experiment with blinding speed and a nasty bite. The rules are simple and brutal. Kill them all because death here is permanent. The first beast lunges forward, but a blade of light intercepts it mid-air. The entire army opens fire, their coordinated assault peppering the creature with damage. A massive critical hit sends the monster staggering back, its health bar taking a huge hit. Mu Shen stands over the fallen beast, the first of many to come. The War Emperor sheathes his sword, calling the fight simple, much to Mu Shen's amusement. But Mu Shen just smirks, revealing the monster's final trick. It just multiplied. The fallen beast begins to heal, and Mu Shen reveals its weakness: a specific bone spur that fuels its regeneration. One of the new recruits eagerly steps up, ready to prove his worth by severing the spur. But his axe bounces off harmlessly, the spur far tougher than he ever imagined. The beast immediately retaliates, impaling the overconfident warrior for his mistake. Mu Shen explains the real strategy. Fire magic can soften the spur, making it vulnerable. The mages try to target the spur, but Mu Shen refines the plan. Weaken it first, then burn the spur during its resurrection. But as they fight, a new threat appears, glowing ominously from the darkness ahead. The army is caught in a pincer attack, with hordes of beasts swarming them from both sides. Chaos erupts as the players are completely overwhelmed, their formation crumbling under the assault. With no room to maneuver, the warriors can only fight desperately to hold the line. The players watch in horror as the fallen beasts begin to resurrect. Their panic turns to disgust as the creatures start feeding on the fallen. So much for a heroic fantasy adventure. Mushin takes stock of the situation, realizing the ambush has cost them dearly. With his army in chaos, he summons his doppelganger for a two-pronged assault. He issues a new battle plan as he unleashes a torrent of fire upon the horde. His clone mirrors the attack, doubling the devastation across the battlefield. The flames trigger a burn effect, weakening the monster's defenses and slowing their advance. The War Emperor spots his opening, charging in to execute the new strategy. With a single precise strike, he severs the bone spur, ending the beast for good. Seeing their success, the rest of the warriors charge forward, ready to turn the tide. The assassin leaps into the fray, eager to test the skills his boss taught him. A flashback reveals Mushen's lesson: an assassin never fights head-on. He taught him to be a ghost, using speed to find an enemy's hidden weakness. The demonstration was a blur of motion, a lesson in deadly, overwhelming speed. Back in the present, the assassin puts that lesson into practice, aiming for multiple strikes. He lands a clean blow, but the monster is far from finished. Remembering his training, he dodges a clumsy counterattack with ease. He seizes the opening, landing a massive critical hit to finish the job. He celebrates his solo victory, completely oblivious to the danger behind him. Guess he missed the part about situational awareness. Ting Xuewan saves him with a timely shield, earning his very grateful thanks. With the strategy proven, the rest of the army charges in to clean up the remaining beasts. Mushen offers one final piece of advice: never let your guard down. A system message confirms their victory, resurrecting the fallen players for the next round. The team discusses the new monster type, a special category called reincarnations. Ting Xuewan explains their twisted fusions of human and demon, their souls lost in the process. The assassin is outraged, but Mushen knows this is just a taste of the real apocalypse to come. With his army recovered, Mushen leads them deeper into the altar's frozen heart. They arrive at the next trial, a massive dial where their fate will be decided by pure luck. The options are revealed: a handful of demon lords and their old friend Apophis. The entire army panics, realizing they've stumbled into a cosmic lottery with no winning tickets. The assassin voices the party's collective fear, knowing another Apophis-level fight is certain death. Mushen gives a simple command: everyone throws a flower into the altar's basin. A system prompt lists the challengers, with Mushen's name alongside some very intimidating titles. With the offerings made, the great wheel begins to spin, its pointer a harbinger of their fate. His army prays to the RNG gods, hoping for anything but another round with the world ender. The pointer slows, clicking into place on a winged, demonic figure. The system confirms their opponent, the black-winged golden crow, and Mushen seems less than thrilled to be the chosen one. They're teleported to the burning cliff, a new arena with a 3-minute countdown to chaos. The army arrives in a scorched wasteland, the very ground burning beneath their feet. Looking up, they realize the source of the heat: 10 blazing suns hanging in the sky. Well, that's not ideal. The army's morale plummets as a new horde of spine beasts appears before them. The War Emperor dryly notes they drew the hardest boss, blaming their terrible luck. But before the beasts can attack, one of the suns unleashes a powerful blast. The fiery projectiles rain down, engulfing the entire undead army in flames. In a single, devastating volley, thousands of the monsters are instantly vaporized. A voice booms from the heavens, warning the mortals to leave or be turned to ash. The army can only complain, wondering how they're supposed to leave a place they were teleported to. But Mushen steps forward, taunting the Golden Crow and challenging it to a fight. The entity seems enraged by his audacity, as the heat sets a player's hair on fire. One of the suns then teleports, descending upon the army in a blinding flash of light. The sun descends, revealing the black-winged Golden Crow in all her fiery glory. Her stats reveal a tragic lore, a spurned god who now wields evil as a weapon. But his army's fear immediately turns to admiration. Guess they have a type. She dismisses their fawning, calling them foolish mortals as she prepares to strike. With a single command, she unleashes a devastating wave of pure, scorching fire. The attack tears through their ranks, their health bars plummeting from the initial blast. But the real danger is the afterburn, a nasty debuff that amplifies all incoming damage. Mushen calmly explains this is a nerfed version, a mere shadow of the real apocalypse. Snapped out of their stupor, the army finally charges forward, ready to fight back. But their combined assault barely scratches her, their attacks dealing pathetic double-digit damage. Mushin gives a simple, if slightly confusing order: no fire attacks against the fire god. But his own fireballs connect for massive damage, leaving his army wondering if he's cheating. He just smirks, calmly explaining that he and they are simply not the same. Enraged, the Golden Crow retreats into the sky, well out of their attack range. She then unleashes her Golden Flamestorm, a massive, swirling vortex of fire. The heat wave engulfs the army, inflicting a nasty burn that drains their health every second. She dives from the heavens, declaring that death is the only reward for challenging a god. But Mushin rallies his mages, ordering a coordinated frost attack to slow her descent. The volley of ice shards connects, finally dealing some real damage to the fiery deity. Furious that a mortal could harm her, she unleashes an even greater inferno in retaliation. The fiery retaliation is swift and brutal, turning players to ash. Mushin barks orders, warning them to spread out or be incinerated by the burn debuff. But he gives a very specific command: stop all attacks when her health hits 100,000. Right on cue, she prepares her ultimate skill, Burning Heart, ready to cleanse the mortals. Mushin then gives the strangest order yet: think of someone you love and do it now. His army immediately gets lost in thought, their minds filled with very specific motivations. He even tells a flustered Ting Jaewan to just think of him, explaining it's part of the mechanic. As the Golden Crow unleashes her ultimate, a blinding sphere of light erupts across the arena. The attack doesn't deal damage, but instead drains their very life force, their chi and blood. But for Mushin, the skill triggers a horrifying memory of his parents' final moments. The skill forces him to relive his trauma, the painful memory of losing his parents. But he pushes past the darkness, focusing on another memory from the apocalypse. He remembers the day Jiangwan saved him, a literal angel in a world of demons. Her touch pulled him back from the brink, a moment of peace amid the chaos. Her promise to always be there becomes his anchor against the encroaching despair. Back in the present, Mushin's eyes snap open, his resolve completely restored. The War Emperor is stunned he recovered, but Mushin just says he has good memories. But Ting Jaewan is caught by the spell, her soul drifting as she laments his choice. Mushin explains the mechanic as he and the War Emperor prepare to break the spell. The War Emperor unleashes a massive ice attack, shattering the Golden Crow's defense. The assassin and his friends recover, complaining about the very specific good thoughts they had to use. The Golden Crow is furious, unable to believe that mere mortals could break her ultimate skill. It turns out their good thoughts were a little more 18+, a strategy that was as effective as it was unspeakable. She calls them shameless rats, disgusted by the very human way they disrespected her divine power. With a furious cry, she unleashes another wave of fire, sending the entire army flying. She scoffs at their defiance, ready to remind them of the difference between gods and ants. But the War Emperor's ice attack connects, freezing her in place and leaving her vulnerable. Mushin declares that even gods can fall, activating his Hand of Death to double his damage. He and his clone prepare a final, coordinated assault, ready to knock her off her pedestal. Their combined magic erupts in a massive explosion, shredding the last of her health bar. The damage numbers are staggering, confirming Mushin's buff has turned him into a walking nuke. Inspired by their leader's overwhelming power, the rest of the army charges in for the final assault. The War Emperor follows up with a devastating rain of ice, landing a flurry of critical hits. The Golden Crow's spear shatters against a shield, her divine pride broken along with it. She falls to her knees in defeat, still clinging to the belief that she is a god. But Mushin confronts her, questioning her right to godhood after siding with evil. She scoffs at his morality, declaring that in this world only the strong have a right to exist. With a final, furious cry, she points out his own dark aura and unleashes one last attack. But Mushin has one last trick up his sleeve, unleashing the Ice Phoenix Spirit Crystal. The crystal flies towards her, and she recognizes the legendary item, wondering if this is a final awakening. The crystal pierces the Golden Crow, who screams in agony at the mortal who dared to defy her. Mushin leans in, his eyes glowing as he promises to make all gods fall from their pedestals. The crystal is absorbed into his hand, a new power he looks forward to wielding. The War Emperor reflects on the fight, realizing these NPCs are far too emotional for a normal game. He inspects his prize, a legendary crystal that grants a self-resurrection skill. Talk about a get-out-of-jail-free card. A system message confirms their victory, teleporting the entire army to the final trial. They arrive before a massive stone gate, the final boss's lair, ready for one last fight. The gate's eyes flare to life, its massive stone jaws grinding open to welcome them. Meanwhile, in the real world, the expedition team returns, debating how to move the Ice Phoenix statue. The rescue leader dismisses his colleagues' fears, determined to claim the priceless artifact for science. A panicked researcher bursts in with terrible news: the ancient centipede has escaped its containment. As the team leader reels from the news, the rescue captain just smirks at the unfolding chaos. He dismisses their anger, suggesting they simply go back into the passage to find more. The scientists hesitate, but the captain mocks their caution, calling them cowards. He rallies his own men, ready to go on a bug hunt in the prehistoric passage. One of the scientists agrees to join, but the captain's thoughts reveal a hidden, sinister motive. The team descends into the darkness, completely unaware of the horrors lurking just out of sight. They are just a handful of silhouettes in a vast, ancient cavern, the silence broken only by dripping water. The scientists warn of aggressive creatures and unknown viruses, urging extreme caution. But the rescue captain just scoffs, pulling out a revolver, ready for a fight. Apparently, science is for nerds. The scientists urge caution, but the rescue captain just scoffs at their cowardice. But his bravado falters as he spots something moving in the darkness ahead. He raises his weapon, demanding to know who's lurking in the shadows. Ignoring all warnings, he opens fire, convinced they are not alone. Back in the game, a system message welcomes the army to the demon god's birthplace. The players can only stare in disgust at the pulsating, fleshy abominations. Mushin immediately takes command, laying out a precise two-part battle plan. His ranged units follow orders, placing the purification flowers into beams of light. But their preparations are cut short as a massive claw erupts from the central mass. More limbs tear through the fleshy sack, revealing the final boss in a gruesome birth. The army recoils in shock as the final boss, Disaster, makes its grand entrance. It's a horrifying fusion of armor and flesh, a true nightmare given form. Its stats are a laundry list of nope, with massive health, regeneration, and control immunity. The party's morale plummets, with even the War Emperor admitting its defense is unbreakable. But Mushin refuses to back down, ordering the assassin to find the last beam while the army buys him time. Their coordinated assault connects, but the damage numbers are just plain insulting. The beast retaliates with a shadow clone technique, multiplying the threat instantly. Its speed is overwhelming, swatting players aside before they can even react. The army is thrown into chaos, tossed around like ragdolls by the unstoppable beast. Just as all hope seems lost, the assassin finds the final beam and activates the altar's power. The assassin celebrates as brilliant beams of light erupt from the ground around him. Mushin confirms the altar's mechanism is active, giving his recruit a rare nod of approval. The light converges on the abomination, ensnaring it in a cage of energy and shredding its defense. With the monster's defenses shattered, Mushin orders an all-out assault, knowing their window is short. The entire army unleashes a relentless barrage, their combined attacks finally dealing real damage. The monster is engulfed in a fiery inferno, its massive health bar finally starting to drop. But Mushin realizes their firepower isn't enough. The debuff is about to expire. The beast roars in defiance, its health still far too high for comfort. With time running out, Mushin screams for his army to push harder, to give it everything they have. The restraints shatter, and Mushin immediately orders his melee fighters to fall back before the counterattack. The beast breaks free, its stats skyrocketing as the purification flowers turn to ash. It immediately lunges, and a warrior's desperate cry is the first casualty of its counterattack. Only a bloodstain and a shadow remain, a grim testament to the monster's newfound power. Mushin takes command, ordering a tactical retreat to kite the boss until the altar recharges. But their ranged attacks barely scratch its hide, the damage number's a complete joke. Even explosive arrows bounce off harmlessly, their best efforts doing next to nothing. The War Emperor charges in, but his powerful strike lands for a measly 19 points of damage. They realize without the altar's power, this abomination is completely invulnerable. To make matters worse, the beast begins to regenerate, erasing their pathetic progress. But the beams of light return, and the assassin leads the charge to restart the cycle. With the altar active again, Mushin orders a full-scale assault on the weakened boss. He knows this is a battle of attrition, a cycle of damage and defense they must endure. But outside the altar, a new party has been waiting for nearly 2 hours. Their leader, Mozifa, learns that Mushin's guild is a who's who of powerful players. His subordinate suspects a hidden quest, eager to claim a piece of the prize for themselves. But Mozifa is not a man who appreciates unsolicited advice from his underlings. He questions how a mere level 11 player could command such loyalty from former guild leaders. Deciding to wait, he plans to thank Mu Shen's team for clearing the path for him. He scoffs at Mu Shen's fame, certain that the low-level upstart's luck is about to run out. An hour later, the battle still rages, with the boss finally at half health after 9 grueling cycles. Mu Shen realizes their firepower is still not enough, and after 9 cycles, a total wipe seems inevitable. The boss's health bar is still ridiculously high, a clear sign of some very questionable game design. For the 10th and final cycle, he rallies his army for one last desperate push, but the beast unleashes a massive wave of energy, a devastating counterattack that engulfs them all. Mu Shen's eyes widen in horror. He knows the boss has just activated its ultimate skill. A system message confirms their fate. An undodgeable, irresistible soul drain is about to begin. The entire army is frozen, their life force draining away as they say their final goodbyes. Mu Shen is also caught, lamenting that all their efforts have been completely wasted. But Ting Zhewan's spirit appears, telling him not to give up, that they can start over together. He confesses he knew they would fail, but she reaffirms their trust, vowing to follow him no matter what. She tells him not to carry the burden alone, reminding him that they are friends. Her words hit him hard. He realizes he's only seen his guild as tools for the future. But with a new fire in his eyes, he finds a new reason to fight, for his friends. As the souls of his army are pulled towards their doom, the boss prepares to feast. The abomination grabs a helpless spirit, ready to consume it before the horrified army. It crushes the soul in its hand, a grim end to their long and arduous battle. But the monster pauses, its glowing red eye sensing an unexpected power. A crystalline egg materializes, shielding Ting Zhewan from the soul-draining effect. The Ice Phoenix crystal activates its self-resurrection skill. Talk about a clutch legendary item. The crystal shatters, and from the light, Mu Shen is reborn, his power surging once more. He declares he'll use every last bit of his divine power, a luxury he never had in his past life. The abomination's eyes glow with rage, sensing the resurrected threat before it. Mu Shen taunts the beast, telling it that its anxiety will only hasten its own demise. He summons his clone, ordering it to hold the monster back while he reactivates the altar. The clone charges forward as a distraction, while the real Mu Shen dashes to place the flower. His doppelganger unleashes a barrage of icy projectiles, holding the line as commanded. With the monster pinned, Mu Shen activates his Hand of Death, doubling his magic attack. He unleashes a devastating torrent of fire, the damage numbers soaring into the thousands. The combined assault from both mages engulfs the beast in a relentless inferno. With the boss's health critically low, he prepares one final frost spell to end it for good. His clone leaps forward, dedicating the first strike to the woman who saved him. With cold fury in his eyes, the real Mu Shen prepares a devastating spell of his own. The clone follows up, its icy blades a tribute to the dark god whose power he now wields. He taunts the beast, asking if it enjoys this performance from a senior wizard. He unleashes a point-blank blast of fire, a blow meant to kill a god. For his final act, he calls down a rain of fire for his guild, telling the beast to pay its debts. With a final stylish snap, the magic show is over, and a system message confirms their victory. But as the dust settles, a mysterious spectral figure descends from the light. The entity congratulates him, leaving Mu Shen stunned by this unexpected post-dungeon event. It reveals the evil spirit within him forced its hand, and Mu Shen realizes it knows about his hand bone. The entity questions Mu Shen's haste, its form a swirling mass of blue data. It dismisses his questions, telling him to find his own answers in Winter City. As the figure vanishes, Mu Shen wonders if there's a higher power pulling the strings. He realizes his new life is full of mysteries he never encountered in his past. A system message confirms their victory, resurrecting his entire fallen army. His followers erupt in cheers, giving their leader full credit for the impossible win. The assassin immediately resumes his role as #1 fanboy, much to Mu Shen's annoyance. The War Emperor suspects the Ice Phoenix crystal was key, but Mu Shen just tells him to get ready for the loot. The final dungeon scores are tallied, confirming their hard-fought near 3-hour victory. The personal ratings are in, a mix of ranks for the party and a perfect SSS for Mu Shen. Shocker. Mu Shen reflects on his perfect score, wondering if the game just admitted he carried the entire team. The system rewards his efforts with a mountain of loot, including another priceless cross-class skill opportunity. He can barely contain his glee, knowing this once-in-a-lifetime reward is a complete game-changer. His new army celebrates the haul, already dreaming of the perks that come with their newfound reputation. With the dungeon cleared, Mu Shen dismisses his exhausted army, telling them to rest up for the next fight. But the assassin's passive skill suddenly triggers, warning them they're completely surrounded. From the ridges above, a volley of arrows is unleashed by an unseen enemy. Mu Shen immediately barks orders, his warriors forming a shield wall to block the incoming assault. The arrows rain down, chipping away at their defenses as his men demand to know who's ambushing them. Ting Zhuowan reports that enemy mages are closing in, and the party realizes this is a well-planned ambush. Mu Shen issues a precise battle plan, splitting his forces to counter the ambush. Following his command, the warriors charge forward to engage the enemy archers. Mu Shen leads his elite squad, a 4-person strike team, into the heart of the battle. The enemy leader Mo Zifa scoffs at their small numbers, calling Mu Shen arrogant. He orders his mages to focus fire, eager to claim the spoils of their hidden dungeon run. As the War Emperor holds the line, Mu Shen takes to the air for a devastating counterattack. Mo Zifa laughs, seeing this as a fatal mistake and ordering his mages to finish him. But Mu Shen is completely unfazed, preparing to unleash a legendary spell of his own. The spell erupts into a massive firestorm, obliterating the enemy forces in a single blow. Mo Zifa can only stare in disbelief, realizing this power is far beyond any normal mage skill. The ambushers are thrown into chaos, their ranks burning as they cry out about the unethical sneak attack. Mo Zifa realizes Mu Shen is using a hidden skill and orders his remaining men to press the attack. An enemy assassin leaps from the chaos, his blade aimed directly at Mu Shen's throat. But Mu Shen's own assassin intercepts the blow, saving his boss with perfect timing. As the battle rages, Ting Zhuowan heals the War Emperor, reminding him they are a team now. Mo Zifa's forces break completely, screaming for a retreat as their health bars vanish. The battlefield becomes a storm of magic and arrows, a brutal exchange of overwhelming force. Mo Zifa can only watch as his perfect ambush is shattered, his plans completely ruined. He tries to slip away, but a familiar blade at his throat stops him cold. The assassin declares that good looks won't save him and promptly sentences him to death. The assassin holds the terrified leader at knife point, his threats now just pathetic screams. His men abandon him without a second thought, leaving Mo Zifa to beg for his life. Mu Shen's army recognizes him as the bully from before, and our boy asks him to repeat his earlier threats. The assassin suggests a delightful cycle of killing and reviving him, a thought that terrifies Mo Zifa to his core. The scene shifts to a new, desolate part of the mountains, where a lone wolf stalks the snow. A massive level 20 snow tiger emerges, its glowing red eyes promising a brutal fight. But before it can even attack, a powerful blast of energy lands a devastating critical hit. A new player appears, a horned girl who seems completely unimpressed by the display of power. She wonders aloud about the journey to Winter City and the rewards that await the first arrivals. Her subordinate reports that their team is ready, confirming another powerful guild is on the same path. Mu Shen rallies his troops, laying out their next objective, a full-speed push to the legendary Winter City. With the plan set, he dismisses his army for the day, telling them to rest up for the journey ahead. Alone at last, Mu Shen checks his stats, sitting on a mountain of unspent experience points. He knows leveling up is the smart move, but his powerful Hand of Death skill is just too tempting to ignore. With a deep breath, he dumps 5 million experience points into the skill, triggering a massive surge of power. A vortex of energy erupts around him as he wonders if the Grim Reaper is causing trouble again. Elsewhere, the Horned Warrior and her team are caught in a sudden, blinding blizzard. They realize this storm is more than just bad weather, a grim omen for the next stage of their journey. Around a campfire, her teammates try to convince her to find allies, but she remains silent and resolute. But the Horned Warrior, Green Small Medicine, suddenly stands, sensing that this is no ordinary storm. She explains the storm is a trigger for 2 powerful wild monsters that only appear in its wake. Her teammate worries that even their strongest attacks won't be enough to handle the new threat. Green Small Medicine warns that the monsters are natural enemies, and their battles will endanger any players nearby. Back with Mu Shen, his Hand of Death skill is now upgraded, boosting his damage by a massive 110%. He then opens his reward chest, receiving a king's ransom in gold, experience, and rare items. He's thrilled with the map fragment and materials, crucial for upgrading his legendary armor. With his remaining experience, he hits level 14, his magic attack finally breaking the 1,000 mark. Meanwhile, in the real world, the Madman Club's headquarters is in complete disarray. The guild's owner, Xu Yufeng, laments his total ruin after his elite team was wiped out by Mu Shen. His secretary suggests a new plan: attend a party and ally with the powerful Lost Memory City Guild. The scene shifts to a lavish party, a world away from the frozen battlefields. Xu Yufeng desperately seeks an alliance with CEO Qin, who mocks him for being crushed by Mu Shen. Qin questions if the Madman Guild was just weak, or if Mu Shen is truly a legend in the making. One of Xu Yufeng's associates tries to use her charms to secure their guild's future. CEO Qin dismisses his other companions, ready to discuss business, or something like it. Xu Yufeng walks away, confident his subordinate will seal the deal for their new alliance. Meanwhile, in the real world, someone is pushing their physical limits with an intense workout. It's Mu Shen, taking a well-deserved break to check his phone. He sees a breaking news alert. An avalanche has trapped an expedition in the Kunlun Mountains. His face twists in horror as he recognizes a name among the trapped, his own father. Mu Shen realizes his father found the very same Ice Phoenix statue from the game. He questions if the apocalypse is starting years ahead of schedule, a terrifying new variable. He finally gets through, and his mom assures him the avalanche has been cleared. But her cheerful tone leaves him completely bewildered. Classic mom move. He can only sigh in relief, completely baffled by his mother's thought process. His father then reveals the truth. The avalanche was a government cover-up. He looks over a cavern of frozen figures, a discovery that changes everything. Later that night, just as he's about to sleep, a new message arrives. It's from a woman named Jiang Jiyu, asking about his choice of main city. She then sends a picture of a rare item, and Mu Shen is left completely stunned. He realizes she has another piece of the legendary map, questioning her impossible luck. His mind races with the possibilities, knowing this map leads to a demon's final resting place. He tries to play it cool, feigning disinterest while his inner monologue completely short-circuits. With a heavy heart, he sends a reply, trying to downplay the item's immense value. But her offer to meet in-game creates a new problem, exposing his identity to a former classmate. He deflects with a vague promise, ending the chat while lamenting the burden of his own handsomeness. But across the city, Jiang Jiu already knows exactly who she's been talking to. She wonders why he's been so unwilling to share his apocalyptic knowledge with her. A brief vision reveals a moment of insecurity, comparing herself to a rival. The next morning, the guild assembles with the assassin immediately fawning over his boss's new level. The assassin clings to his boss, as the new recruits cheer for more chaos. A server-wide announcement confirms the blizzard has awakened legendary wild monsters. Mu Shen sees this not as a roadblock, but as a perfect opportunity to upgrade his skills. Elsewhere, another party, the Green Python Squad, finds themselves trapped in the same battle zone. They lament the brutal journey to Winter City, a path that has forced many to start over, but their leader rallies them, vowing that their efforts will be rewarded in the end. They advance cautiously across the frozen plains, blind to the dangers without an assassin. Their caution pays off as a colossal Ice Phoenix Dapeng descends from the sky. The team coordinates their attack against the level 30 elite, a legendary beast of immense power. But as they fight, the ground trembles, signaling a new threat is about to emerge from below. A massive frost dragon erupts from the snow, a level 30 elite with a nasty bite. But its true target is the Ice Phoenix, and the two legendary beasts immediately clash. The sheer force of their battle sends the warrior's teammate flying across the ice. The leader gets to her feet, ordering her party to get clear of the collateral damage. She turns to her fallen comrades, making sure they're still in one piece. She makes the call to fall back, deciding to let the two titans wear each other down. But their retreat is cut short as an entire army of frost dragons emerges from the snow. And from the sky, a flock of ice phoenixes descends. Well, so much for a quiet trip to the city. The two factions collide in a cataclysmic battle, turning the plains into a war zone. The monsters tear into each other, a brutal, primal conflict with the players trapped right in the middle. One of the warriors is sent flying, his health bar taking a massive hit from the collateral damage. The squad is completely surrounded, their morale shattered as they realize there's no escape. But just as they accept their fate, a massive explosion of golden light erupts from above. The spell is a devastating prairie fire, incinerating both factions in a single overwhelming blow. Mu Shen's army charges in, ready to clean up the mess and farm some easy experience points. The legendary beasts are completely wiped out, leaving the other party stunned by the sudden turn of events. From the flames, a new army emerges, and the squad leader recognizes the name on everyone's lips, Mu Shen. They realize it's the legendary player himself, the man who's been shaking the entire server. Mu Shen appears before them, recognizing this squad from his past life as a group of ruthless killers. Green Small Medicine wastes no time, immediately asking to join his guild and pledge her loyalty. Her team questions her sudden change of heart, but the assassin is already rolling out the welcome mat. System messages confirm the merger, as the Green Python squad is officially absorbed into Fengshan Valley. With his new army assembled, Mu Shen rallies them to continue farming the legendary beasts. 3 days later, they reach the final stage of their journey. Their morale high as Winter City is finally in sight. They arrive at a beautiful, treacherous frozen lake, a new area called Broken Sky. Mu Shen checks his quest log, knowing that reaching the city is the key to unlocking the next phase of his mission. But a system warning reveals a deadly water monster lurks beneath the ice, promising a fatal end for the unwary. Ting Juewan asks if he knows the way, and Mu Shen confidently declares that only he can lead them through. But they're not alone. Another powerful guild, the Black Dragon Hall, watches their every move from a distance. Using a stealth talisman, their leader recognizes Mu Shen's name, knowing they're tailing a living legend. The Black Dragon Hall watches, certain Mu Shen's team will fail just like they did. Mu Shen lays out the rules for the crossing, a complex path with zero room for error. The assassin tries to follow the dance-like instructions, leaping across the ice. But the complex sequence immediately short-circuits his brain. He begs his boss not to leave him behind, terrified of the long, lonely walk of shame. The rest of the army follows their leader's path, carefully navigating the treacherous ice. But as they near the shore, the assassin spots a strange flash of light. An unseen attacker strikes, and a warrior from the rival guild is caught in the blast. His shield shatters, the projectile dealing a massive chunk of damage. The impact sends him stumbling onto a forbidden ice floe, triggering the very trap Mu Shen warned of. The ice shatters beneath their feet, plunging the rival guild into absolute chaos. Their leader realizes the attack was a deliberate ambush, bypassing even his assassin's detection. From the depths, the very lake explodes upwards in a violent shower of ice. A colossal three-headed water beast erupts, a guardian of Winter City with 95% damage immunity. The monster's 3 heads begin to glow, charging a devastating wide-area attack. It unleashes a torrent of pure energy, engulfing the entire rival guild in its icy breath. The Black Dragon Hall is completely wiped out, their screams silenced by the overwhelming blast. They respawn far from the lake, defeated and wondering who orchestrated their demise. So much for a shortcut. But Mu Shen is already there, calling out the saboteur who's been hiding in the shadows. A new player appears, a pink-haired girl who seems impressed by Mu Shen's legendary reputation. She introduces herself and her guild, the infamous Black Dragon Hall. Mu Shen recognizes the name, a ruthless and powerful guild from his past life. Their leader demands an apology, but Mu Shen's team is already sizing up their new opponents. The girl mocks his reputation, questioning if a couple of server firsts make him a king. She then thanks him for finding the path, revealing she plans to steal it and leave them for dead. Enraged by the betrayal, Mu Shen's entire army draws their weapons, ready for war. The Black Dragon Hall meets their aggression, the two guilds locked in a tense standoff. But their leader reconsiders, knowing a prolonged fight will just attract more monsters and rivals. She steps forward with a new proposal, suggesting they settle this with a one-on-one duel. She challenges Mu Shen directly, and he readily accepts as his fanboy offers some very helpful advice. With the duel set, Mu Shen wastes no time, unleashing a simple fireball to test the waters. But his spell is met by a powerful arrow, the two attacks colliding in a fiery explosion. The purple projectile tears through the blast, a high-damage sniper skill aimed right at him. Mu Shen barely dodges, diving for cover to chug a health potion. Guess this isn't a warm-up. But his opponent, Dada, begins charging another shot, taunting him for trying to hide. As the countdown begins, Mu Shen peeks from his cover, sensing something is wrong. He dives just in time as the arrow obliterates his hiding spot in a shower of splinters. His party watches in horror, realizing the Black Dragon Hall's archer is a serious threat. Her guildmates gloat from the sidelines, revealing that this special arrow is far from finished. Mu Shen realizes the arrow's energy hasn't faded. It's a homing projectile, and he's still the target. The single projectile suddenly splits into 3, each one locking onto him with deadly intent. A skill description reveals the attack has a 100% hit rate, making escape completely impossible. But Mu Shen summons his clone at the last second, using it as a human shield to absorb the blow. The clone is nearly destroyed, but the sacrifice has revealed a critical flaw in her attack pattern. Unfazed, Dada mocks his tactic and begins charging the very same attack once more. But instead of hiding, Mu Shen breaks from cover, charging directly towards his opponent. She realizes his plan, to close the distance and strike during her skill's long charge time. But she scoffs at his attempt, confident that even a partial charge is enough to finish him. As her teammate screams a warning, Mushen's clone descends from above, ready to interrupt her shot. The real Mushen smirks from a safe distance, asking how she enjoyed his little misdirection. His clone unleashes a warrior skill, stunning the enemy guild with his impossible abilities. Mushen recalls his SSS rank reward, a priceless cross-class skill opportunity. But Dada warns him not to celebrate. Her homing arrow will now target his real body. The real Mushen appears behind her, his hand reaching out to end the duel. He shoves her forward, sending her stumbling directly into the path of his clone. But instead of attacking, he catches her, holding her firmly in place. He uses her as a human shield, letting her own homing arrows close in. With her health critical, he demands an apology, but she defiantly refuses to surrender. So he raises his hand, preparing to deliver a very different kind of finishing blow. Her guild is furious, while his own army cheers on their boss's unique disciplinary methods. With a decisive smack, he delivers a finishing blow that deals a single humiliating point of damage. The message is clear. This isn't about winning, it's about putting her in her place. His army erupts in cheers as the rival guild watches their leader's public shaming. Dada breaks down in tears, but Mushen is unmoved, demanding a real apology. Her guild is ready to riot, furious that their goddess is being bullied by this shameless upstart. But the threat works, and she finally breaks, offering a full apology to his entire army. His own team debates the finer points of his unique disciplinary methods. Dada retreats in shame, her guildmates trying to console their defeated leader. With the duel settled, Mushen extends an olive branch, suggesting they cross the treacherous lake together. She agrees to the truce, but her pride demands a rematch in 3 days' time. But she ups the stakes for their rematch. If he loses, he joins her guild. If she loses, she becomes his maid for a month. With their truce settled, the two guilds finally arrive at the legendary Winter City. The assassin is stunned as the city guards salute them, a sign of Mushen's growing reputation. A system message confirms his server-first achievement, showering him with a mountain of rewards. With their journey complete, Mushen dismisses his temporary army to claim their own rewards. A new chapter begins, not just for them, but for the entire game world. Mushen pulls out his job transfer scroll, ready to claim a reward he's been planning for. He's presented with 3 powerful mage specializations, each with a unique and deadly playstyle. But he chooses the one he could never afford in his past life, a path of overwhelming power. The transfer is complete. He is now a talisman master, his old skills replaced with devastating new ones. His new core skill is a complex cycle of 5 elemental talismans. He also gains a powerful frost formation and a divine lightning flash. His new ultimate can trigger a temporary god mode, granting total immunity. And to top it off, he now has a multi-teleport that deals damage on arrival. He immediately uses a scroll to enhance his new talisman to a perfect +10. His magic attack now dwarfs that of any other mage at his level. With his upgrades complete, he turns his attention to the mysteries of Winter City. His first stop is the Reputation Merchant, a man who looks like he eats rocks for breakfast. The merchant seems completely unimpressed by the legendary player before him. He scoffs at Mushen's request, demanding he prove his worth with a quest first. The merchant offers him 3 quests, all at the highest difficulty. So much for a warm welcome. But the man stops him, deciding those tasks are too easy and offering a special hidden mission instead. He hands Mushen a piece of ancient jade, telling him to find a woman named August to the north. Mushen considers the new quest, knowing a special task means a legendary reward. But the name August triggers a horrifying memory of a murderous NPC from his past life. He turns back to the merchant, wondering if he can back out of this obvious suicide mission. Mushen walks away, cursing the old man for the setup as the merchant cryptically smokes his pipe. He wonders if these NPCs are more than they seem, realizing his past life barely scratched the surface. With his new quest in hand, he makes his way through the magnificent frozen streets of Winter City. His next stop is the blacksmith, who offers a much simpler quest: track down a deadbeat who skipped out on his bill. A server-wide announcement confirms the world's progress, unlocking new rankings and events. The new leaderboards reveal a mysterious assassin dominating both strength and gear rankings. The world chat explodes as players question the impossible +115 enhancement on his legendary weapon. Mushen laments the player's impossible luck, even admitting he tried to report him for cheating. But he's not worried, knowing his own identity is safely hidden from the leaderboards. Back in Winter City, the guild chat buzzes with news of their new job specializations. Mushen is less than impressed by his assassin's choice, which was clearly based on style over substance. He lays out their next objective, a massive survival challenge in 2 days' time. He takes a moment to admire the view, a rare moment of peace in the beautiful, deadly city. Meanwhile, in the real world, the reckless rescue captain is finally facing justice for his actions. The scientists reveal the captain's treason, a failed plot to sell the centipede. They lament his light sentence, a punishment fueled by simple, world-ending greed. Mushen's father explains the immense value of these samples on the world stage. But back in the lab, their research has hit a complete and total dead end. The centipede's armor is nearly indestructible, a biological marvel of evolution. The female scientist suggests they investigate the frozen figurines, sensing a new mystery. In the ice storage, they find the frozen figures are shattering from within. Tianyang is horrified to discover that the ice statues are completely hollow. He theorizes they were hosts for the centipedes, a horrifying possibility. Guess we found our alien pods. He turns to his colleague for confirmation, but she's completely unresponsive. Her colleague can only stare in horror, the pieces of the puzzle finally clicking into place. He has a horrifying vision of the ice figurines moving, their forms twisting in silent agony. Back in the real world, Mushen tries to eat his anxiety away before his meeting with the deadly August. But his meal is interrupted by a young woman who asks if he's dining alone. She introduces herself as Luo Jusi, the mage he coached to victory in the tournament. She offers to treat him, but he points out he never got the last snack she promised. A classic case of selective memory. After downing a drink, she asks if he's on the same server as her. He says no, and she laments her bad luck, revealing she found a hidden map entrance. The mention of a hidden map immediately gets Mushen's full and undivided attention. She explains the details, and he immediately identifies it as the Qing Emperor's secret realm, stunning her with his knowledge. He explains that a new hidden dungeon has just opened up in another city. In the guild chat, he rallies his team for a 9 a.m. departure to Qingjiang. After the assassin complains about the early start, Mushen simply kicks him from the chat. Problem solved. The next morning, the team assembles in Winter City, with the assassin scrambling to join them. He proudly shows off his new class, a hidden swordsman, and his flashy +10 weapon. Ting Xuan reveals her new specialization, a powerful doctor of light. But the War Emperor remains undecided, leaving his team wondering what path he'll choose this time. Elsewhere, another guild leader plans to cooperate with Mushen's team against a common rival. With their plan set, the team makes their way to Winter City's teleportation tower. A fairy NPC greets them, ready to send them on their next adventure for a small fee. The fairy NPC warns of a 2-hour wait, as Qingjiang City is the new hotspot. But for a hefty fee, she offers an express pass to bypass the traffic. Mushen generously volunteers his walking wallet to cover the entire party's fee. They arrive in the bustling Qingjiang City, a hub for players seeking new adventures. The city is packed with players, all drawn by the promise of the new secret realm. Mushen spots their rival, Dada, who's chosen the powerful Stringer specialization. He knows this sniper class is a mage's worst nightmare, but he's not just any mage. Right on cue, she sends a friend request reminding him their duel is still on. They arrive at the dungeon entrance, a place Mushen knows all too well from his past life. A system message welcomes them to the Qing Emperor ruins as they're pulled into the trial. They arrive in a desolate wasteland dominated by a petrified giant impaled by a colossal sword. Mushen corrects his team, revealing the towering shapes around them are not mountains. The lore reveals this is the Qing Emperor, a god hunter who was casually pinned here by a far greater power. With the assassin suitably impressed, Mushen points them towards their next objective. The War Emperor eyes the hilt of the sword, as the assassin realizes their path leads straight up. The team marches across the misty plains, dwarfed by the sheer scale of the ancient battlefield. The assassin complains about being hit, but Ting Xuan just thinks he's losing his mind. But a new threat emerges from the mist, ghostly white walkers, immune to all physical and spell damage. As the assassin panics over their stats, the War Emperor calmly identifies the obvious. Thanks, Captain. His attack passes right through the creature, which then lands a solid blow, proving this is no illusion. But Mushen reveals his new class, unleashing a powerful fire talisman against the ghostly horde. The spell creates a protective ring of fire, but Ting Xuan notes it's only a temporary solution.